Chapter 2161. Du Xiaofu learned about the desolate nation's situation from little Xingxing. The desolate nation would be fine for the time being. Du Xiaofu also asked about the Saint Realm from little Xingxing. As expected, the primordial spirit of the demon god had been born. The seal placed on the world by the Lord of the 3,000 sectors and the dragon god had been broken. The energy of heaven and earth began to recover, and living beings were able to break through to the Saint Realm. Something must have gone wrong. Du Xiaofu pondered. He had failed to break through to the Saint Realm again. Perhaps he would only be able to solve this mystery in the future. I feel like I can take care of Long Chenchao, Qin Yanlong, and those old guys now. I can definitely beat them up. Little Xingxing clenched his fists slightly, and golden flames flickered in his eyes. Now that he had stepped into the Saint Realm, he naturally wanted revenge. He had no intention of letting Long Chenchao, Qin Yanlong, and those old guys go. Let's go find Du Xiaoyao first. Du Xiaofu smiled. He didn't know what level Du Xiaoyao was at now, and how far she was from the Saint Realm. That guy had been quietly improving at an astonishing rate, and wouldn't be much slower than little Xingxing. Du Xiaoyao has already gone into seclusion. I don't know where he is. Little Xingxing raised his eyebrows slightly. Not long ago, she had chosen to go into seclusion in the Central Plains River. She had been revived in the Central Plains River. However, little Xingxing didn't know where Du Xiaoyao had gone into seclusion. With Du Xiaoyao's talent, there probably weren't many people in the world who could find the place where he had gone into seclusion. Let's go. It's not too far. Du Xiaofu said. Others couldn't find the place where Du Xiaoyao had gone into seclusion, but it wouldn't be too difficult for him to find it. The two figures disappeared from the mountain peak. Along the way, Du Xiaofu felt that the energy of heaven and earth was clearly increasing, becoming denser and denser. This had great benefits for the living beings in the world, especially for those who cultivated. The dragon of the desolate nation has stepped into the Saint Martial Realm. Purple Star Demon Dragon Emperor has broken through to the Saint Martial Realm. From now on, the desolate nation has a Saint Martial Realm cultivator. The news of Purple Star Demon Dragon Emperor breaking through to the Saint Realm spread like a storm. Not long after, the news, the Demon Realm, the 3 continents and other places and lands, the desolate nation's Saint Realm, and the 9 Kyushu Realm, and the dragons and Phoenix's clan Saint Realm. The nation? However, the barren country itself did not have any Saint Realm cultivators. In the end, they were unable to truly compare with the 9 great clans, the Phoenix clan, and the Dragon clan. Is this Purple Nation? Purple was to Saint Realms. Is the Saint was the nation. Saint even 9, Saint the Saint, and the 2 to the 999, the 99 Saint 99, Saint Realm. He can break through to the Saint Realm. This kind of news also made some of the ancient experts in many forces, who were nearing the end of their lifespan, overjoyed. This news was like an oasis in the desert to them. Go to the desolate nation and send gifts. There were also people from the nation who prepared gifts and went to the desolate nation to congratulate Purple Star Demon Dragon Emperor. 3 days later, deep in the mountains. Among the mountains, there was a deep valley at the bottom. The purple peaks were like heavenly pillars. They were tall and short. The mountain stood tall and straight as if it was propping up the blue sky. 2 figures quietly appeared. It was little Xingxing and Du Xiaofu, who had used a disguise technique. Father, this place seems a little strange. Little Xingxing looked around. Although the surroundings seemed calm, it could not escape her prying eyes. This place was not normal. It's here, Du Xiaofu said. After pondering for a while, he smiled and said, Little Xingxing, help protect me. As his voice fell, the golden light around Du Xiaofu fluctuated, and the mysterious runes of the talisman flickered out, forming a golden phantom of a 5-fingered mountain behind him. Then, his figure disappeared into the void. Du Xiaoyao is hiding here? Little Xingxing's eyes lit up. She raised her eyebrows and then jumped onto a huge rock not far away. She sat cross-legged with her hands on her cheeks. The huge space was like a separate world. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in this space. He was shrouded in golden light. In front of the space, a huge golden five-fingered mountain was shining with golden light. Mysterious runes were evolving and merging with the figure of a red-bone horse monkey. It was as if it had been given life. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the space, the sound of wind and thunder resounded. The five-fingered mountain was filled with golden light. The sound was like the sound of wind and thunder. It was like a king that could not be bullied. Endless aura swept across the sky. Du Xiaofu smiled as he looked at the golden five-fingered mountain peak. The golden talisman runes erupted like the sun. Then, his expression became serious. He sat down cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and formed a seal with his hands. Qi La. When the handprint was condensed, the golden talisman behind Du Xiaofu immediately surged out, condensing into an identical five-fingered mountain phantasm that spread out. Du Xiaofu was familiar with all this. Then he merged with the huge five-fingered mountain. Walala! At this moment, when the two five-fingered mountains merged together, golden light burst out and the space trembled. In the next moment, Du Xiaofu's mind entered a purple space. It was like the beginning of the chaos. A huge five-fingered mountain was like a golden sun in the sky. A terrifying power spread out and suppressed this purple space. Du Xiaofu was not surprised. This was Du Xiaoyao's rune space. Du Xiaoyao seemed to be breaking through. This was also an opportunity for him. In the outside world, Little Star was sitting cross-legged with his chin in his hand. His hand seals were condensed. His eyes were closed as if he was resting. Time slowly passed. In this mysterious space, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged, was enveloped in a dazzling golden light. Walala, a golden five-fingered mountain phantom appeared behind Du Xiaofu. It evolved, condensed, and produced dense spiritual energy. Multicolored light spread out, and the sound of wind and thunder could be heard. The golden runes changed, revealing the origin power of heaven and earth. They merged with the golden five-fingered mountain before him. The two were one and had endless changes. Qi. A few days later, Little Star, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. Golden flames flashed in his eyes. Rumble. Suddenly, a rumbling sound resounded from the surrounding space. From the space in front of him, the mountain peak shook, the ground trembled, and the golden talisman markings flickered dazzlingly. Boundless dazzling light erupted like the rising sun. The void twisted and cracked. Under the surprised gaze of Little Star's golden flames, a golden five-fingered mountain rose from the void. Its powerful aura was like an erupting storm. Rumble! At this moment, the world was dark. Clouds surged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. In the depths of the void, a divine ring was in the sky. A golden energy beam poured down, enveloping the golden five-fingered mountain, as if it was being tempered thousands of times. Boom! The mountains trembled, the earth rumbled, the mountains and rivers swayed, and a vision appeared in the sky. Only the golden five-fingered mountain bloomed with dazzling runes. In the midst of the energy fluctuations of heaven and earth, it transformed into a huge golden red-bone horse-ape. Ayo! The red-bone horse-ape roared. Its entire body was crystal clear and full of vitality. It communicated with heaven and earth, as if it was one with heaven and earth. The red-bone horse-ape's eyes looked straight at the sky. It was as if it was born with spiritual eyes, looking down on everything. It gave people the feeling of heaven and earth, of the beginning of all things. Walala! The red-bone horse monkey's crystal-clear body was still being enveloped by the energy pillar connected to the divine ring. At this moment, the red-bone horse monkey's terrifying aura erupted, as though it could suppress everything in its path. The energy in the sky continued to surge into the golden ape's body, until the energy beam connected to the divine ring completely entered its body. Finally, when everything calmed down, the red-bone horse-ape's body shone with golden light. The hair on its head was colorful. As the light surged, it transformed into a golden-robed youth. His facial features were as handsome as if they were carved by a knife. He had a head of golden hair that reached his shoulders. He was thin and tall, and his eyebrows were like swords. Who? After a long time, the golden-clothed young man spat out a mouthful of turbid air, shaking the space. Under his long and dense eyelashes, his slightly closed eyes opened. His pair of bright golden beautiful eyes seemed to be able to capture one's soul. Not bad, you broke through. Yes. Little Xingxing stepped forward and looked at the golden-robed youth with her clear eyes. She had an expression of a child who could be taught. Other than Du Xiaoyao, there was no other red-bone horse-ape in the world. The long and dense eyelashes covering the deep, faint golden eyes slightly curled up. His eyes rolled at little Xingxing. In the deep golden eyes, the faint golden light was unfathomable. It added a mysterious feeling and revealed a noble demeanor. He looked at little Xingxing and then revealed a look of surprise. You broke through to the Saint Beast realm? What's so strange about that? My talent is much stronger than yours. Yes. Little Xingxing replied with a disdainful look at Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaoyao frowned. He was really speechless. If they were to really talk about cultivation time, this little girl really didn't have as much time as him. Her various breakthroughs seemed to be assisted by the gods. She was definitely a monster. Du Xiaoyao, where's my father? Suddenly, little Xingxing asked Du Xiaoyao. He took advantage of me a lot. I'm afraid it will take some time. Du Xiaoyao said. He had already sensed his aura. Otherwise, who would be able to get close to his place of seclusion? He already knew that guy wasn't dead at all, so he wasn't too surprised at this moment. Everything was within his expectations. 2 days later, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged, showed signs of waking up. The golden light of the five-fingered mountain around him converged and turned into talisman patterns that drilled into his body. Everything converged and disappeared into his body. Chapter 2162. Phew! A moment later, Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid air from his abdomen. Du Xiaofu's tightly shut eyes opened, the golden light in his eyes flashing with lightning. Then, it slowly receded and turned clear. Father! I knew that you wouldn't die. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao's figures appeared beside Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu got up and looked at Du Xiaoyao. A smile suddenly appeared on his bearded face, and there was some anticipation in his eyes. He said, I wonder how strong you are now? You'll know once you try. Hearing this, Du Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows and stared at Du Xiaofu. His golden spirit eyes suddenly surged with battle intent. He was now at the saint stage, and this fellow had not yet set foot in it. It was a rare opportunity to teach this fellow a good lesson. At this moment, Du Xiaoyao indeed wanted to know how strong he had become after setting foot in the saint stage. He just needed an opponent to test it. Little Xingxing's clear eyes turned. Sensing the battle intent surging from Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaofu, he immediately retreated far away tactfully. Then let's try. As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu's body suddenly became taller and more majestic. Golden light suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he directly soared into the air. His entire body was like a bolt of lightning as he pounced straight at Du Xiaoyao. Boom! In an instant, Du Xiaofu's 5 fingers clenched tightly. Golden light flashed in front of his fist. The golden light was hazy, accompanied by the appearance of a purple thundercloud, causing the void to suddenly become blurry. Du Xiaofu's punch was formed in an instant. It was as fast as lightning and as powerful as thunder. A terrifying aura surged all over his body. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in front of Du Xiaofu's fist. The school of Yinyang's roars of dragons and elephants sounded. Roar! The sound was like heavenly thunder, domineering and disdainful. Do you think I'm afraid of you? I'll let you know what it means to be a sage expert. Du Xiaoyao shouted loudly. Instead of retreating, he stomped his feet on the ground and soared into the sky like a dragon. He also threw out a punch, accompanied by a sky full of golden light and a hazy aura like the beginning of the world. The talisman's secret patterns burst out and spread in all directions, colliding with Du Xiaofu's punch. The two figures moved in an instant, causing little Xingxing's eyes to twitch. One was like a peng striking the stars, shaking the 9 heavens. An ape soared into the sky, suppressing all life. The two fists collided in an instant. At this moment, there seemed to be the roars of dragons and tigers, the cries of birds and the cries of phoenixes resounding through the void, erupting with endless light. Rumble. At the point of collision between the two fists, powerful gales swept out as multicolored light erupted, and it pressed down to the point it resonated with the heavens and the earth. Mysterious talisman markings appeared into appearance, and shocking phenomena gushed out from it. It was just a simple punch from each of them, but it was a fusion of their own comprehension. These two fists weren't ordinary at all. They were the two individuals testing each other. It was as if two stars had collided. Boom. In a short period of time, the place where the two fists collided erupted with divine light, and the sky exploded. Ka-ka. The surrounding mountains trembled, and the earth quaked. The entire world was trembling, the ground cracked, the abyss exploded, the mountain peaks collapsed, and the entire world was filled with ravines. Dang dang. The two figures were sent flying from the void at the same time, and each of them smashed a huge mountain peak behind them, causing huge rocks to roll down and dust to fly up. Only then did they stagger to the ground, crushing the ground and stabilizing their bodies. The two of them faced each other from a distance, and both of them were surprised. Du Xiaoyao was surprised. That guy clearly hadn't stepped into the Saint Realm, but his strength didn't allow him to gain the slightest advantage. The faint pain from his fist made Du Xiaoyao very clear that guy's physical body was even more terrifying. Du Xiaofu was also shocked. As expected of the red-bone horse monkey, Du Xiaoyao's combat strength was really terrifying. If it wasn't for his immortal Xian body, he wouldn't have been able to withstand that punch. Continue, Du Xiaoyao said. He wasn't convinced. He had stepped into the Saint Realm, so why couldn't he do anything to that guy? He could take advantage of this opportunity to vent his anger. In the future, the position of the boss would be his. Forget it, we shouldn't stay here for long. Du Xiaofu withdrew his aura and had no intention of continuing the fight. One punch was enough to test his strength. It wouldn't be easy to determine who was stronger between him and Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaoyao wanted to continue. He was still thinking about the position of the boss. This was definitely the best opportunity. If that guy also stepped into the Saint Realm, then he would have no hope. However, Du Xiaofu had no intention of continuing the fight, so Du Xiaoyao could only give up. There was nothing else he could do. Then, the three of them left the mountain range that had been turned into ruins. Whoosh whoosh, the three figures streaked across the calm void and disappeared in a few flashes. It's time to settle the score with legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, and dragons. In the void, little Xingxing held his head high. At this moment, Du Xiaoyao had also broken through to the Saint Realm. He couldn't help but want to seek revenge with legalism, dragons, and the others. In the Eternal Tomb, legalism, dragons, and school of vertical and horizontal all have those ancient experts. Those guys are very difficult to deal with. I'm afraid that even if we work together, we won't be enough. Du Xiaoyao frowned. He knew very well how powerful those ancient experts were. They weren't easy to deal with. There are also ancient experts from the Phoenix clan. I can go and find them for help. Little Xingxing's eyes flickered. He said, and those dragons. I want to go and see them. This isn't the way back to the barren country. Where are we going? Du Xiaoyao asked Du Xiaofu. There's no hurry. Let's go find someone first, then go back to the barren country. Du Xiaofu said, if we find that guy, perhaps we'll be able to protect ourselves against those ancient experts. Father, are we going to the Golden-Winged Rock Clan? Little Xingxing asked. This time, an ancient expert had also walked out from the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan. With the relationship between the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan and the Desolate Country, it was naturally not a problem to invite that ancient expert. We'll know when we get there. Du Xiaofu smiled, but there was some worry in his expression. That guy didn't seem easy to find. Moreover, after leaving the Eternal Tomb, he didn't know if that guy would fulfill his promise again. Legalism. Although it had been greatly affected in the past, it had recovered a lot over the years. The lush valleys were quiet and secluded. There were small bridges and flowing water. Exotic flowers and herbs bloomed. There were even spiritual herbs everywhere. In the forest, hundreds of birds chirped and spiritual beasts shuttled. It was like a paradise. Suddenly, an aura shot up into the sky and engulfed the entire legalism. The tranquil world of legalism suddenly surged with wind and clouds, rumbling because of this. The disciples of legalism were alarmed. They all appeared, their eyes filled with shock. Some experts stepped into the air and followed the aura. They looked in the direction where the aura came from. Boom! At the place where the aura came from, a blazing aura of lightning began to rise quietly. It was like purple lightning in the sky. Countless dazzling lightning runes surged out and filled the void. Chapter 2163. Saint Stage. Xiaojing is breaking through to the saint stage. A legalism elder appeared in the air, his eyes trembling with joy. Miss Xiaojing is breaking through. Is Sister Xiaojing about to step into the saint stage? Countless legalism disciples rushed over, their eyes filled with shock. Under that terrifying pressure, their bodies went limp, and the weaker ones directly knelt down. An hour later, when the light of the 10 rings and the energy of heaven and earth disappeared into the dazzling purple lightning arc, the surrounding darkness receded. A graceful figure appeared in the air, purple lightning arcs circling around her body, dazzling the world. An aura broke through the bottleneck and rushed into the sky. At this moment, the graceful and beautiful figure was like a goddess in midair. Monstrous arcs of lightning swept out while accompanied by a grand aura that swept out, causing the heavens and the earth to tremble and rumble. Mountains in the surroundings rumbled as they collapsed into pieces while the ground collapsed. Rumble, heaven and earth rumbled, and the sky trembled. This aura was too terrifying. It suppressed heaven and earth, as if it was causing heaven and earth to tremble, shocking the soul. What a powerful aura! It seems to be even stronger than the divine ancestor. Everyone's eyes were trembling, their souls were trembling, and their bodies went limp. Under this terrifying aura, it was enough to crush everything. All legalism cultivators were directly suppressed. After a moment, the graceful figure's aura finally retracted. Her tightly shut eyes opened, and a bolt of lightning shot into the sky, accompanied by a ripple of force. Her aura was vast and boundless. Execution of all lives. In the huge mountain range, the space was scorching hot for no reason. As they went deeper, there would occasionally be some lightning arcs floating in the air. As they went deeper, the temperature became hotter and hotter, and the mountain rocks were dark red. A little girl, a young man in golden clothes, and a muscular man with a curly beard appeared in this mountain range. This place doesn't seem right. Du Xiaoyao was alert. He understood yin and yang, and knew how to deal with people. He was good at entering and exiting, and he could sense that something was wrong. Very strange. Little Xingxing raised her eyebrows. At this moment, the invisible aura in the air made her not dare to be careless. Hearing that, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly, closed his eyes, and released his mind. Then, Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with lightning as he opened his eyes. He said to Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, "It's right in front of us." A moment later, under a canyon abyss, blazing heat spread out from the abyss. Red-blue electric arcs flashed across the cliff from time to time. "Dad, are we here to find someone?" Little Xingxing looked around. She, who was not afraid of anything, did not dare to be careless. "It's here." Du Xiaofu said Du Xiaofu's voice. "Du Xiaofu, is it do you want you or should I go in?" Hearing into the Nins, Chang's, Ens Chuan's Nai's making. Under Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's curious gazes, a voice that did not sound very old rang out from the canyon. However, it was filled with an ancient aura. Sizzle. As the voice was emitted, a cluster of palm-sized scarlet-blue crystal flames slowly rose from the bottom of the canyon. It was crystal clear, like a cluster of scarlet-blue gemstones. Traces of scarlet-blue magma-like flame ripples lingered around it, continuously flowing slowly. Bizizi. The appearance of the scarlet-blue flames gave off an extremely eerie feeling. As the scarlet-blue arcs of electricity rippled, the temperature of the surrounding space immediately rose to a terrifying level. The aura was ancient and destructive, causing the space to distort. At the same time, lightning had already begun to appear in the surroundings at some unknown time. The aura was invisible and destructive, causing the expressions of Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing to immediately change drastically. The aura made them secretly fearful as well. In a short period of time, within the cluster of crystalline crimson-blue flames that rose from the abyss of the canyon, as the ripples of electric arcs rippled, traces of distortion slowly surged out from the void, and then it transformed into a human figure that walked out, appearing in the rather surprised and vigilant gazes of little Xingxing and little Demon Du. This humanoid figure seemed to be over 50 years old. He had long red hair and was dressed in a blue robe. His round face did not show any signs of weariness. Instead, it seemed to be extremely radiant. His belly was bulging, and his robe was almost torn apart. He looked like a Maitreya Buddha. "It's him, the ancient expert." Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao recognized the old man. They had seen him in the Tomb of Eternity. No wonder his aura was extremely familiar. It's actually a disguise technique. Master Hualei appeared and looked at Du Xiaofu. His ancient eyes were deep, as if he could see through Du Xiaofu with a single glance. He revealed a surprised expression. Then, his round face maintained a smile as he looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "Even that demon god couldn't kill you. You're not simple at all. Senior, you seem to have recovered quite a bit." Looking at Master Hualei, the old man's body seemed to have completely solidified. The invisible aura that filled the air made Du Xiaofu feel that Master Hualei seemed to have recovered quite a bit. He was far more powerful than when he was in the Tomb of Eternity. "The seal in this world has been broken. Naturally, I recovered a bit faster." Master Hualei's eyebrows arched slightly. He seemed to be in deep thought as he said, "Those demon emperors are also recovering. I'm afraid they'll recover even faster." Hearing Master Hualei's words, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao's expressions became serious. Du Xiaofu's expression also darkened. Those demon emperors, especially that demon god, were just too powerful. The 9 thunder cauldrons had all fallen into his hands. Sigh. Master Hualei sighed softly. He raised his head and looked at Du Xiaofu. "You came to find me. Don't tell me there's nothing going on?" "Yes." Du Xiaofu looked at Master Hualei and said, "Do you still remember the deal between us? Now you should fulfill it." "I remember. I will help you find the remaining spiritual thunders and help you fuse with them." Master Hualei nodded without any hesitation. Seeing Master Hualei's attitude, Du Xiaofu was quite surprised. He didn't expect Master Hualei to be so straightforward. This wasn't Master Hualei's style at all. "Before finding the spiritual thunders, there are 2 more things I need to do first," Du Xiaofu said. Back then, there were 3 conditions in his deal with Master Hualei. The first condition was to find the remaining spiritual thunders and help him fuse with them. The second condition was for him to help him do 2 things. The third condition was for him to swear not to harm him. At this moment, Du Xiaofu wanted to do those 2 things first. Otherwise, when the calamity arrived, everything would be too late. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Master Hualei frowned and said, "Finding the remaining spiritual thunders is the most important thing right now. Otherwise, everything will be too late. There won't be any more opportunities." Chapter 2164. Du Xiaofu shook his head. His eyes were firm and decisive. "These 2 things are more important to me than finding the spiritual thunder. These are the conditions you agreed to back then. It's time to fulfill your promise. You must first find the spiritual thunder. This is the most important thing. You have already wasted a lot of time. As for the other things, you can do them later," said Master Hualei. "Old man, you promised my father. How can you go back on your words?" "You're going back on your words." Little Xingxing pouted. She understood that this old man wanted to go back on his words. "Little girl, don't cause trouble. This matter is very important. Your talent is not bad, and you are a descendant of the true dragon. However, this calamity is not something that others can stop." Master Hualei waved his hand at little Xingxing. "Old man, do you believe that I won't beat you up?" Little Xingxing had never been looked down upon like this before. She knew that this old man in front of her was also an ancient expert. However, since she had stepped into the Saint realm, she had some confidence. She waved her little fist and looked like she wanted to fight. You have just stepped into the Saint realm. Little girl, you are far from enough. Master Hualei looked at little Xingxing. His ancient and deep eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. However, he still didn't put little Xingxing in his heart. Old man, you take advantage of your seniority. I want to see how strong you are. With little Xingxing's temper, she was able to endure it. When she finished speaking, her figure disappeared into the air like a ghost. Boom! In just an instant, when little Xingxing's figure reappeared, she had already appeared in front of Master Hualei. Her little fist was clenched tightly, and it was wrapped in a strange golden flame. An extremely dense dragon's aura spread out and shook the void. Roar! This fist caused the golden flame to explode with bright light and high temperature. The roar of a dragon resounded. It was as if an ancient true dragon had awakened. The sound waves shook the soul. It was enough to make one's heart tremble. In front of the fist, the golden flame covered it. The surrounding void directly distorted, and a circle of pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. It brought with it a surging pressure, and it was as if 10,000 mountains were collapsing. It released an endless, boundless supreme being's aura. Little Xingxing knew how powerful Master Hualei was. Therefore, she didn't hold back. She didn't hold back. The dragon might filled the sky, shaking this part of the world. This punch seemed like it was going to destroy everything and obliterate all life. Hualei Zizi's eyes were filled with surprise. He raised his arm and red and blue flames swept out along with lightning. He blocked little Xingxing's punch in an instant. Master Flamespark's punch seemed slow, but it was as fast as lightning, as if it controlled time and space. Within the ancient aura of this fist, there was also an incomparably scorching power of thunder. Accompanied by the scarlet-blue arc of lightning, it was incomparably terrifying. Boom! Both of them were as fast as lightning. When their fists collided, it shook the heavens and the earth, as if it was going to shatter the space. Qi-La, however, this time, little Xingxing's body was directly blasted away like a kite with its string cut. He fell several hundred meters away and smashed into a towering tree, shattering it into pieces. Roar! At the same time, a thunderous roar shook the heavens. Amidst the flickering golden runes, a powerful fluctuation erupted like a storm. Amidst the dazzling golden runes, a golden-robed young man appeared. The young man's body erupted with a vigorous aura that contained the source energy of the world. It connected with the world and gave people the feeling of the beginning of the world, the beginning of all life. Boom! Du Xiaoyao made her move. Right after little Xingxing, she threw out a punch. Endless dazzling light erupted, and the power seemed like it was going to suppress and destroy the surrounding space. Master Hualei raised his eyebrows. Deep within his eyes, scarlet-blue flames flickered. His body emitted an ancient aura that carried a scorching and destructive aura as he pushed out his palm. In an instant, the lightning on Master Hualei's palm flickered and the runes on his palm flashed. Then, a scarlet-blue pillar of lightning condensed in front of his palm. With the power to crush everything, it directly shot toward Du Xiaoyao. Bang! The shocking collision created a sonorous sound. The void trembled and explosions continued to echo. Walala! The scarlet-blue flames and the runes on the golden runes spread out and covered the entire area. Du Xiaofu looked at all of this and secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. Deng deng! Du Xiaoyao was also sent flying. She wasn't any better than little Xingxing. Her body smashed into a giant rock in the distance before she could stabilize her body. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao looked at each other. Their faces were pale and their eyes were filled with shock. The two of them didn't think that the flames park in front of them would be so powerful. After Master Hualei knocked little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao away, he also staggered back a step. The rock under his feet had tiny cracks that didn't leave any traces. Looking at Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing in the distance, the surprise in Master Hualei's eyes became even bigger. Heavenly talent is indeed not bad. Master Hualei stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing in the distance and said such a sentence. However, at this moment, no one saw that Master Hualei's hands behind his back felt pain and secretly shook them. The shock in Master Hualei's heart was even greater than that of little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. Master Hualei knew very well that this dragon and the red-bone horse monkey had just broken through to the Saint Realm, but their strength far surpassed those of the same realm. If they were at the same level, either one of these two little guys would be able to suppress him. Luckily, he had recovered a lot during this period of time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so relaxed just now. Then, Master Hualei also knew that although he looked relaxed just now, it wasn't easy at all. That dragon and the red-bone horse monkey were too abnormally strong. Even the group of primordial sovereigns before the Great Calamity couldn't compare with them at the same age and cultivation. This old guy is really strong. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao lowered their heads and secretly looked at each other. They didn't act rashly. Master Hualei was extraordinarily strong. They had just broken through to the Saint Realm and wanted to test their strength. They didn't think that they would be defeated in one move. Little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, don't be rude to your senior. Du Xiaofu said helplessly. He could tell that Master Hualei didn't have any ill intentions towards little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. He was just testing them. Little Xingxing pouted. Du Xiaoyao raised her eyebrows. She didn't have any intention of attacking again. Tell me, what do you need my help with? Master Hualei looked at Du Xiaofu and rolled his eyes. He seemed to have compromised. Du Xiaofu looked at Master Hualei and smiled. He didn't leave any traces and asked, "Legalism." This time, an ancient expert came out of the eternal tomb. I wonder how strong he is compared to you when he was at his peak? That Qin Tiangu? Even if he was at his peak, he wouldn't dare to show off in front of me. Master Hualei looked at Du Xiaofu. His red-blue eyes turned slightly as if he had seen through Du Xiaofu. He said, "You want me to help you deal with legalism? No need. I just need you to stop Qin Tiangu," Du Xiaofu said in a low voice. The ancient legalist who had walked out of the Tomb of Eternity seemed to be called Qin Tiangu. Now, in the entire school of legalism, only he was a threat. If Master Hualei could stop Qin Tiangu, Qin Yunlong alone wouldn't be a problem. Master Hualei looked at Du Xiaofu and didn't ask anything else. After a few seconds, he nodded and said, "Okay. What's the second thing?" "Thank you, Senior. But let's talk about the second thing after this matter is settled." Du Xiaofu bowed to Master Hualei. Then he turned around and said to Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, "It's not convenient for me to show up now. There are some things that I need your help with. We'll meet up later to avoid alerting the enemy." "What do you need us to do?" Du Xiaoyao nodded. When legalism was mentioned, she already guessed what Du Xiaofu wanted to do. "Dad, do you want me to go to the Phoenix clan? At that time, we won't have to worry about legalism." It wasn't difficult for little Xingxing to know Du Xiaofu's goal. With her status in the Phoenix clan, she could command the entire Phoenix clan. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and looked at the sky. After a while, he shook his head and said, "This time, we'll use the power of Huang country. We have enough. This time, we definitely can't let that old bastard Qin Yanlong go." Little Xingxing waved her fist. With Master Hualei dealing with the ancient expert of legalism, she no longer took Qin Yanlong seriously. With the power of Huang country, it's time to settle some debts. Du Xiaofu said. He secretly clenched his fists and a frightening golden light flashed through the depths of his eyes. Swish, swish. A few minutes later, little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao left after Du Xiaofu gave them some instructions. They vanished into the sky. Du Xiaofu was not worried at all with Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's current strength. In the current world, probably only those ancient experts could deal with little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao. With Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing's talent and trump cards, they definitely had the ability to protect themselves against those ancient experts. Legalism. Du Xiaofu stared into the depths of the sky as he watched little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao leave. He could not help but feel emotional. Back then, he had left the Stone City because he wanted to reunite his mother and sister with his family one day. Today, that day had finally arrived. This time, Du Xiaofu was no longer the same person as before. What grievances do you have with legalism? You seem to have the spiritual root of legalism in your soul. Master Hua Lei stared at Du Xiaofu in doubt. This little guy seemed to have quite a deep grievance with legalism. There's no grievance at all. It's all about the fist. Du Xiaofu returned to his senses and smiled at Master Hua Lei casually. That's true. It's all about the fist. Master Hua Lei felt the same way. He seemed to understand something and said, "Where do we go now?" Chapter 2165. Translator, H2-2 Mr. Find a place to go into seclusion for a few days, said Du Xiaofu. Okay, but your thunder martial vein and spirit lightning are still quite useful to me. Master Hua Lei looked at Du Xiaofu. Okay. Du Xiaofu nodded. He knew that Master Hua Lei was thinking about his thunder martial vein and spirit lightning. However, he was the one asking for help, so he hoped that Master Hua Lei would recover as soon as possible. Senior, you keep saying that you are the ancestor of the Du family. Why don't you return to the Du family? Why do you have to go into seclusion? Du Xiaofu asked Master Hua Lei. As for Master Hua Lei's identity, Du Xiaofu could guess from the words and gestures of the heavenly wood divine tree, the demon god, and the great demon in the eternal tomb that Master Hua Lei had a deep relationship with the ancestor of the Du family. Master Hua Lei looked at Du Xiaofu. This guy was usually rude to him, but today he was extremely respectful. From what he knew about this guy, he knew that if he was unaccountably solicitous, he was hiding evil intentions. The corner of Master Hua Lei's mouth rose. He swung his sleeves and stood with his hands behind his back. His round face carried a hint of disdain and arrogance as he said, "Back then, everything under the heavens belonged to the Du family. This saint moved unhindered in the world. Everywhere was home." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was shocked. Master Hua Lei's tone was not ordinary. It seemed that in ancient times, the Du family was far superior to the 9 great families, dragons, and phoenixes. Otherwise, how could they say that everything under the heavens belonged to the Du family? You don't believe me? You think I'm just boasting? Seeing Du Xiaofu's shocked and incredulous expression, Master Hua Lei rolled his eyes and said, "When the ancestor of the Du family was still alive, the dragons, phoenixes, and 9 great families didn't even dare to fart in front of your ancestor. Then why did the Du family fall to such a state?" Du Xiaofu was flabbergasted. If the Du family's ancestor was so powerful that the 9 great families, the dragons, and the phoenixes didn't even dare to fart, then why had the Du family declined to this day? It's a long story. I'll tell you the details later. Master Fire Thunder shook his head and didn't say anything else. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile that wasn't a smile and said, "You want me to go to the Du family because you want me to be your ancestor?" Du Xiaofu looked at Master Flames Park and said, "Senior has always said that you are an ancestor of the Du family. If you want the Du family's disciples to recognize you, then you must first recognize your ancestors. I am the ancestor of the Du family." "What ancestor? What clan do I belong to?" Master Hua Lei rolled his eyes at Du Xiaofu. He was the ancestor of the Du family, so what was there to acknowledge? This, Du Xiaofu frowned and said to Master Hua Lei, "But you can't provide any evidence and you don't want to go back to the Du family. This makes it difficult for the Du family's disciples to recognize you." "Speak, what do you mean?" Hua Lei stared at Du Xiaofu. How could he not know what this kid was trying to say? Who knew what he was up to? It's actually very simple. Since you are an ancestor of the Du family, then you are connected to the barren country. Your return is a grand occasion. The barren country's sacred elder must be you. Du Xiaofu paused for a bit. His expression suddenly became serious as he bowed and said, "I am the descendant of the Du family, the king of the barren country. Greetings, ancestor, sacred elder." Master Hua Lei stared at Du Xiaofu and was stunned for a moment. He then said, "You want to recognize your ancestor? You are clearly using me as a tool." Hee. Du Xiaofu smiled and lowered his head. He bowed and said, "I wouldn't dare. I am sincere. Plus, if you are really an ancestor of the Du family, I will do my best to help you." "Ha!" Then, Master Hua Lei laughed loudly. His laughter was ancient. After he finished laughing, Master Hua Lei rolled his eyes at Du Xiaofu. However, there was a trace of admiration in his eyes. This brat's words were nice to hear, but there was a hidden threat. It was obvious that he was using his thunder vein and spiritual thunder as a bargaining chip. Stand up. But let me tell you something. What's sacred elder? I will do the things I promised you. But don't bother me with anything else. Master Hualei waved his hand. He didn't agree or shake his head. Thank you, Hualei Laozu. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu smiled and stood up. Even though Master Hualei didn't agree, it was a silent agreement. As long as he agreed, everything would be much easier in the future. From the heavenly wood divine tree, he confirmed that Master Hualei was related to the Du family's ancestor. Now that he saw Master Hualei again, Du Xiaofu had the idea of recruiting him to the Huang country. More importantly, whether it was the Du family or the Huang country, they both needed a strong cultivator like Master Hualei to guard this world. A strong cultivator like Master Hualei, even in name, was enough to intimidate some people. This time, Du Xiaofu hoped to use the Huang country's power for his trip to the legalism. If Master Hualei became the sacred elder and returned to the Du family, then it would be even more legitimate. A few hours later, Master Hualei personally laid down a seal and found a place to cultivate. According to Du Xiaofu's plan, he was going to stay here for a while so that he could go into seclusion and study. Inside the seal, Du Xiaofu called out the ancient desolate space in his mind. He planned to cultivate himself again and find a way to break through. Walala, inside the ancient desolate space, the space was misty and filled with an ancient aura. But I didn't expect this item to fall into your hands. But it seems to be incomplete. It's not as good as before. After entering the ancient desolate space, Master Hualei's expression changed. Ancestor, do you know the origin of this item? Seeing this, Du Xiaofu asked. With Master Hualei's identity, he came from the ancient era. It was likely that he knew the origin of the ancient desolate space. This should be the treasure of that old man from the Tianwu Academy. It's called the ancient desolate space. It said that there are endless mysteries inside and it's a treasure among treasures. However, this treasure was destroyed and the experts from the Tianwu Academy died in the heavenly devil battlefield. That old man is probably dead as well. I didn't expect that after the treasure was destroyed, it left behind a fragment that fell into your hands. Master Hualei thought back to the past and sighed. His expression was desolate. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. What Master Flames Park said was similar to what he knew. However, Master Flames Park didn't seem to know the true situation of the desolate ancient space. The old man from Tianwu Academy that he mentioned might be the master of the desolate ancient space. Du Xiaofu didn't know much about this. Moreover, the most important thing right now was to break through to the Saint Realm as soon as possible. Du Xiaofu didn't say much about the ancient desolate space and asked Master Hualei about his cultivation. Master Hualei didn't hide anything. He sat down cross-legged in the ancient desolate space and told Du Xiaofu everything he knew. What a pity, what a pity! When Master Hualei learned that Du Xiaofu had failed to break through to the Saint Realm again, his face turned serious. He said to Du Xiaofu, "Back then, you broke through to the Saint Realm at the wrong time. At that time, the world was sealed and you couldn't break through to the Saint Realm. Since you failed, you are a failure before the Saint Realm." After pausing for a moment, Master Hualei narrowed his eyes and said, "The Saint Realm is complete and flawless. You failed once, so you are already lacking. You will be suppressed by the world. Now that you have broken through a second time, it will be even more difficult to break through in the future. As the saying goes, the first drum builds up the spirit, the second will weaken the spirit, and the third will exhaust the spirit." Hearing Master Hualei's words, Du Xiaofu's face turned serious. He looked at Master Hualei and asked, "So, my chances of breaking through to the Saint Realm are very small? To others, it's almost impossible to succeed." Master Hualei narrowed his eyes and said to Du Xiaofu, "But to you, it's not like you don't have a chance. As long as you fuse with the 36 spiritual lightnings, it won't be impossible for you to break through to the Saint Realm. You need to fuse with the 36 spiritual lightnings to have a chance." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. Not to mention how long it would take to fuse with the spiritual lightnings, As far as he knew, Jalo Jueju and Moksha had the spiritual lightnings. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to obtain them. There were also many spiritual lightnings that were missing. There was no news about them. Du Xiaofu felt a bit disappointed. Apart from fusing with the 36 spiritual lightnings, was it really going to be difficult to break through to the Saint Realm? After you finish your business, go and find other spiritual lightnings. Master Hualei said. We'll talk about it later. Let nature take its course. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and smiled. After a while, Master Hualei entered Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and spiritual lightnings continued to nourish him. This treasure actually fell into your hands again. After entering Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace, the Daluo sword array that Du Xiaofu had obtained couldn't escape Master Hualei's eyes. He was shocked. The aura that emanated from the sword was definitely not ordinary. Even Master Hualei felt that it was unfathomable. However, Master Hualei wasn't too surprised. Du Xiaofu even had the divine lightning cauldron with him. Now that he had obtained the sword treasure left behind by the master of the 3,000 worlds, it wasn't too strange. Within the ancient desolate space, Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged and quietly stared blankly. Originally, Du Xiaofu wanted to comprehend his own body. However, after hearing Master Hualei's words, he felt a lot of pressure. If it was really difficult to break through to the Saint Realm, he would be greatly affected. In this turbulent world, he had to break through to the Saint Realm as soon as possible. Nothing is impossible. If the heavens really want to stop me, then I'll just break through. Suddenly, a golden light burst out from Du Xiaofu's eyes. A tyrannical aura swept out, shaking the void. His eyes regained their sharpness. Chapter 2166. Nothing is impossible. If the heavens really want to stop me, then I'll just break through. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes shone with golden light. A domineering aura swept out, shaking the void. His eyes regained their sharpness. Back then, Du Xiaofu couldn't cultivate to the point where he lost his mind and didn't die. What hadn't he experienced? If he lost his mind now, what was the point of breaking through to the Saint Realm? Du Xiaofu had experienced too many tribulations over the years. He didn't even know how many life and death situations he had experienced. What else had he not experienced? All kinds of tribulations had already tempered Du Xiaofu's heart like a boulder. It was unshakable and unbearable. Comprehend. Du Xiaofu decided. There was a lot of time in the desolate country. He had enough time to comprehend. However, this time, Du Xiaofu didn't comprehend himself. He had gained a lot from the heavenly devil battlefield. There were many things left behind by ancient experts. Du Xiaofu estimated that if he could comprehend the things left behind by ancient experts, it might be beneficial for breaking through to the Saint Realm. At least it was beneficial and harmless. Then, Du Xiaofu took out the things he had gained from the eternal tomb from his Qinkuan bag and began to comprehend. Unbelievable, really unbelievable. This is too abnormal. As Du Xiaofu comprehended, Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace constantly exclaimed in surprise. He had entered Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace and felt the power of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit and physical body. He hadn't stepped into the Saint Realm, but he was no weaker than a Saint Realm expert. He was stunned. Desolate country, Stone City. Although the demonic apocalypse was approaching, the huge Stone City was still bustling and bustling. As the news of the Purple Star demonic dragon emperor stepping into the Saint Realm spread, various forces, including the Confucian school, Taoist school, School of Agriculture, School of Buddhism, and others, all sent congratulatory gifts. They were extremely polite. There were even more people from the Phoenix clan. They said they wanted to invite the Purple Star demonic dragon emperor back to the Phoenix clan. However, Little Star was not in the Stone City. The people from the Phoenix clan could only give up in the end. They left the congratulatory gifts behind and left. The Purple Star demonic dragon emperor has broken through to the sacred beast realm. From now on, our desolate country will have a Saint Realm expert overseeing it. When the news of Little Star's breakthrough was confirmed by the Phantom Chariot, the Phantom Tiger King, and the Silver-Winged Demonic Condor, the experts of the desolate country were extremely excited. How could the experts of the barren country not know what it meant to have a true sacred beast overseeing the place? Otherwise, why would the Taoists, Confucians, and School of Agriculture send gifts? Boom! Throughout the Stone City, in the Du family, many cultivators had broken through their bottlenecks and reached a new level. I've broken through. I've finally broken through. The heavens are really helping me. After 50 years, I've finally broken through. Some of the living beings who had been stuck at bottlenecks for a long time suddenly found themselves breaking through their bottlenecks for some unknown reason. The energy of heaven and earth is getting denser and denser. It's increasing every day. Cultivators can benefit endlessly. Many experts noticed that the energy of heaven and earth was increasing with each passing day, becoming denser and denser. The Stone City originally had the grass of immortality and dark seeker grass, so the energy of heaven and earth was much better than other places. Now that the energy of heaven and earth was increasing, the dark seeker grass and grass of immortality were absorbing the rich energy of heaven and earth, which in turn nourished the Stone City. Inside the Stone City, energy ripples could be seen faintly. It was like a land of treasures. Whoosh whoosh, two figures broke through the air and arrived outside the Stone City's huge imperial palace. Who trespassed into the palace? It's the princess and the demon king. The princess and the demon king are back. Greetings to the princess and the demon king. When they saw the two figures, one big and one small, a man and a woman, a young man in golden robes and a bewitching little girl, the guards outside the barren country's imperial palace immediately saluted in surprise. These guards had also heard that the purple star demonic dragon emperor, the princess of the barren country, had broken through to the sacred beast realm. After a few hours, the huge imperial palace's main hall was dazzling. The imperial palace's dragon qi was dense, and the roar of a dragon could be heard faintly. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao sat at the head of the hall. Beside them were Yi Lao, Du Zhenwu, Du Zhixiong, Du Xiaoman, Du Yunlong, and the others. The heavenly wolf Gu Tianxiao, the undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu, and the nether demon were also seated. Their auras were astonishing. There were not many people present, but they were all core members of the barren country. Gui Che, the silver-winged demonic condor, and the others could only stand respectfully below. Inform those in seclusion. 7 days later, the barren country's elites will move out and head for legalism. Little Xingxing said. He was not old, but the invisible supreme aura around him made everyone's hearts tremble. Legalism. Hearing that, Yi Lao, Du Zhenwu, Du Yunlong, and Du Xiaoman were all shocked. They knew the relationship between legalism and the barren country. Going to legalism in 7 days was undoubtedly a declaration that the barren country and legalism would go to war in 7 days. What's going on? Du Xiaoman looked at little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao in confusion. Du Xiaoyao smiled at Du Xiaoman and said, "There's no need to ask. Everything will be clear when the time comes." Following that, Du Xiaoyao's golden spiritual eyes flickered. She said, "Seal the news and prepare in secret. 7 days later, we will head for legalism." But before Uncle Tingxian went into seclusion, he said that he was not to be disturbed unless something big happened. "If we go to legalism, shouldn't we inform Uncle Tingxian?" Du Xiaoman asked. Du Xiaoyao pondered for a while and said, "We won't disturb you for now. Inform Battle Emperor Xueling that 7 days later, the barren country will move out. We can't afford to lose a country guardian venerable." When the last word was said, Du Xiaoyao's figure had already disappeared. She left behind a sentence that echoed in the main hall. "I'll make a trip to Tianwu Academy. You guys get ready for the rest." As her voice echoed, everyone in the main hall was puzzled. There were also some who were worried. Although the purple star demonic dragon emperor had already become a saint beast, the school of legalism had Qin Yanlong to begin with. This time, an ancient expert had emerged from the tomb of eternity. If the desolate country wanted to make a move against the school of legalism, they probably had no chance of winning. Everything has been arranged. This time, we'll raise legalism to the ground. Little Xingxing saw through everyone's puzzlement and said to them. She knew that Du Xiaoyao was also a Saint Realm expert. There was also the terrifying old man Hua Lazy. Legalism was indeed enough to deal with. Raise legalism to the ground. Motherfucker. Hearing that, the spiritual Tiger King, Violent Bear King, Mysterious Dragon King, and the others were filled with fighting spirit. The enmity between the barren country and legalism had been there since the beginning. Chapter 2167. Everyone left and started making preparations. The Heavenly Beast Hall had a huge army of demonic beasts, as well as the experts of the desolate countries stationed outside, and it would take some time for them to return. 7 days was definitely a tight time frame. Tianwu Academy. Du Xiaoyao's figure appeared as she entered the academy. I'm here to borrow something. A moment later, in a secret chamber, Du Xiaoyao woke up the general who was in seclusion and said, Tianwu Academy has an ancient artifact obtained from the heavenly devil battlefield. It should be in the academy right now. I want to borrow it. What's the use? The general asked as a glint flashed across his eyes. All these years, he had taken charge of Tianwu Academy along with Gu Xinyan, Tang Wu, and Guo Xiaofeng. We'll head to the Legalism Academy 7 days later. Tianwu Academy has an ancient artifact that I can use, Du Xiaoyao said. To the Legalism Academy. Hearing this, the general's gaze trembled. Du Xiaoyao was here to borrow the ancient artifact and head to the Legalism Academy. Back then, Du Xiaofu had placed the ancient artifact on him before he entered the Eternal Tomb. Other than him, Gu Xinyan, and a few others, no one else knew about it. He's still alive. Has he returned? Thinking of this, the general's body trembled. His eyes glowed as he stared at Du Xiaoyao. Du Xiaoyao smiled. Looking at the general, she said casually, You'll know when the time comes. The general stood up and stared at Du Xiaoyao. A few breaths later, he stood with his hands behind his back. Even in front of Du Xiaoyao, he exuded an aura that could suppress mountains and rivers. He said, If you want to borrow the ancient artifact, I'll head over as well. Otherwise, we'll talk face to face. Du Xiaoyao looked at the general and nodded. Time slowly passed in the desolate ancient space. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged. His body was occasionally enveloped by talisman runes and occasionally immersed in them, like an old monk in meditation. Qi. Occasionally, there would be hand seals formed in his hands. Resplendent light would surge, and the aura would shake the void. Faintly, the roars of beasts could be heard. During this period of time, Du Xiaofu did not continue to comprehend himself. Instead, he comprehended the things left behind by the ancient experts he had obtained from the heavenly devil battlefield. He studied many of the inherited secret methods and methods, making significant progress. Du Xiaofu couldn't make a breakthrough into the sage realm for the time being. So, he decided to comprehend everything wholeheartedly. This could also increase his battle strength imperceptibly. Qi. Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly had a bright white divine light burst out from his eyes along with electric arcs. A strong and fierce aura suddenly spread out. At Xiaoyao's Xiaoyao Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao Xiaoyao Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao 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 Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao 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 a Xiaoyao Xiaoyao's Zion Xiao's Xiao's Xiaoyao Xiaogold's Xiaoxiueo Xiaoyao. Qi. Xiao, Qi. The saber shadow in his hand cut through the void, leaving behind an afterimage. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, the surrounding air was squeezed out with a sharp sound of breaking wind, constantly cutting through the void. Every slash of the saber was like a thunderbolt, causing the space to collapse. It was even more terrifying. Even the flame lightning seed in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace was awakened by this power. It appeared and revealed a look of surprise. Kid, what kind of cultivation technique is this? Hua Lazy couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. With his eyesight, he could tell that this technique was definitely not ordinary. This is a saber soul technique. It can be considered a technique that specializes in attacking the primordial spirit. I've had it for a long time, but I've been neglecting it. Du Xiaofu withdrew his hand seals and revealed a wry smile. This was a saber soul technique that he had obtained from his master, the Holy Hand Spirit Sovereign's heavenly spirit record. It was somewhat different from the primordial spirit techniques of this world, but it was a technique that specialized in attacking the primordial spirit. It was powerful, overbearing, and ever-changing. It could pierce through anything, break anything, and even shatter the opponent's primordial spirit through the void. It was absolutely tyrannical, but unfortunately, it had been neglected for a long time. This time, Du Xiaofu had paid attention to everything he had learned in the past, especially this saber soul technique. After carefully comprehending it, Du Xiaofu felt that this saber soul technique, when comprehended to the extreme, was even more vast than the mysterious yellow emperor seal. Especially its terrifying ability to attack the primordial spirit, it would be able to play a huge role in battle. What a terrifying primordial spirit attack! Extraordinary! Hua Lazy exclaimed. This saber soul technique was definitely not simple. It's about time. It's time to go. Du Xiaofu stretched his body, and a series of crackling noises could be heard coming from his joints and bones. Let's go. I also want to know how much Qin Tiangu has recovered. That brat is not a good person. He's meticulous and ruthless. Hua Lazy said. It seems like the old ancestor knows a lot about Qin Tiangu. Du Xiaofu asked. Is there anything in this world that I don't know? The Qin family of legalism has an ordinary status in legalism, but because of Qin Tiangu's rise, he married into the Han family. It can be said that the current Han family of legalism is actually Qin Tiangu's descendant. Hua Lazy said. This was something that happened in the past, and it was difficult for people to know about it now. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was a little surprised. But to him, whether it was the Qin family or the Han family of legalism, there was no difference. Old ancestor, how strong was Qin Tiangu when he was in his prime? Du Xiaofu was interested in Qin Tiangu's cultivation base. Around Saint Late Stage. Hua Lazy said. Saint Beast Realm, Saint Demon Realm, Saint Talisman Realm, and Saint Martial Realm. How many levels are there? Du Xiaofu asked. He was not surprised by Hua Lazy's words. He had long felt that there was a huge gap in the Saint Realm. Back then Fu Yibai, Crazy Old Man, and the others could beat Qin Yanlong and the others. As for those ancient powerful beings and the Demon King, they were obviously not people that Qin Yanlong and the others could compare with. Saint Beast Realm, Saint Demon Realm, Saint Talisman Realm, Saint Martial Realm. After Saint Realm, there are 5 more levels. They are Saint Realm Early Stage, Middle Stage, Late Stage, and Full Stage. Hua Lazy said. Saint Early Stage, Middle Stage, Late Stage, Full Cultivation, Heavenly Saint. When Du Xiaofu heard the last 2 words, Heavenly Saint, they seemed to be accompanied by the power of the Great Tao, causing his heart to tremble violently. It was like a heavy hammer, accompanied by the power of the heavens and earth. After Heavenly Saint, is there a path? Du Xiaofu suppressed the trembling in his heart and continued to ask Hua Lazy. Your heart is really big. Since ancient times, it's already not easy for living beings to reach Saint Late Stage. Those who can reach full cultivation can be counted with one's fingers. Heavenly Saint, Hua Lazy sighed softly. He was a little lost in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. He then shook his head and said, whether there are levels after Heavenly Saint, I'm afraid only the master of the 3,000 worlds, the dragon god, and the demon god would know. But there is a legend in this world. Heavenly Saint Merit, Great Tao. Heavenly Saint Merit, Great Tao. Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled with purple gold lightning. Don't think too much. Let's break through to Saint Realm first. There won't be many worlds left. Hua Lazy sighed. There's no end to the strong. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and smiled. His eyes were as firm as ever. Saint Realm, I will reach it one day. After a while, Du Xiaofu walked out of the ancient desolate space and looked in the direction of legalism. His eyes were very calm as he murmured, Mother, Xiaojing, I'm here to take you home. Walala, as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the world seemed to have felt something. It trembled slightly for no reason, and fluctuations appeared out of nowhere. On the barren mountain, a blazing aura and a monstrous murderous aura filled the sky, dyeing the void and making the world roar. But the strange thing was that in this vast void, there was an invisible barrier in the sky that separated the blazing aura and the murderous aura. Inside the barrier, the earth crumbled. A young man clad in fiery armor walked out from the boiling lava. His eyes were like two volcanoes that could incinerate and destroy everything. It was a man in a dark red robe. The hood of the robe covered half of his head, but it couldn't hide his outstanding and heroic appearance. His face was sharp and angular, and there was a vast sea of evil chi around him like a tornado. He was facing the young man in the fiery armor from afar. These two people were terrifyingly powerful. These two people were Fire Cloud Evil God Dugufenshin and Heavenly Demon Yeluhan. But at this moment, Dugufenshin and Yeluhan were in a sorry state. One's armor was broken, and the other's clothes were tattered. Both of them were pale and blood was flowing out of their mouths. Their expressions were sharp and dignified as they stared at the yellow-robed old man in front of them. The yellow-robed old man stood in the air. He was as thin as a match and had a wretched face similar to Zhen Qingxuan's. His eyes were indifferently looking at Dugufenshin and Yeluhan. That terrifying hot lava aura and boundless fiendish aura didn't even cause his clothes to flutter. Not bad. This old man is also a person who loves talents. As long as you hand over the bloodline soul in your body, this old man will spare your lives. How about it? The yellow-robed old man faintly smiled. It was clearly a smile, but it was uglier than crying. His voice was loud and clear. Heavenly Demon Yeluhan and Fire Cloud Evil God Dugufenshin looked at each other and hesitated for a moment. Then, a cold light shot out from their eyes. Their aura soared into the sky, and the murderous aura swept out. Above the void, there was a rumbling sound, and supreme power gushed out. Divine rings appeared in the sky as if they wanted to shatter this space barrier. Old bastard will fight you to the death. Dugufenshin and Yeluhan shouted. This old bastard actually wanted their bloodline souls. To them, this was worse than death. With their arrogance, even though they knew the other party was a Saint Realm expert, they absolutely wouldn't allow themselves to be slaughtered. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Yeluhan attacked. His murderous aura billowed, affecting space and time. His supreme power shook the void. The billowing murderous aura and supreme power turned into lightning that swept towards the yellow-robed old man. Chapter 2168. G. Dugufenshin's hands seal condensed as a blazing aura surged out. Raging flames surged and turned into a flaming bird. Its aura was destructive and frightening. It flapped its wings and created spatial ripples as it pressed down from all directions. The blazing destructive aura was even more terrifying. Two terrifying attacks struck the yellow-clothed old man's body in a terrifying and shocking visual impact. Chi 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 chi. The two terrifying attacks swept out and the space shattered as an aura that could destroy everything filled the air. Boundless fiendish aura and blazing lava intertwined as they crazily destroyed everything. However, everything was out of their expectations. The yellow-clothed old man appeared from the most berserk and destructive energy. He was calm and indifferent with a smile on his face. However, his eyes had sunk. Two juniors, you overestimate yourselves. You're too weak. You're courting death. The yellow-clothed old man spoke. When his voice sounded, his figure had already appeared in front of Dugufenshin like a ghost. A fingerprint flew out and turned into a resplendent light. Wherever it passed, it pierced through the blazing lava. Dugufenshin's face was filled with shock. He was simply unable to dodge it. The surrounding space froze as surging profound chi whistled out of his body without restraint. After that, it turned into surging lava and crazily condensed into a lava shield in an attempt to block the terrifying fingerprint. However, no matter how Dugufenshin activated it, the yellow-clothed old man's fingerprint was unstoppable. As the light burst forth, it carried a calm yet extremely terrifying energy. With an astonishing speed, it disintegrated Dugufenshin's lava shield, destroyed it and then annihilated it. Chi-chi. In the end, as Dugufenshin tried his best to dodge, the fingerprint flew into Dugufenshin's shoulder. It pierced through the ancient fiery armor and came out from the back of his shoulder. Puchi, a large mouthful of blood spurted out from Dugufenshin's mouth. His body fell from the sky like a bird with broken wings. The surging lava in the air suddenly converged and turned into talisman runes that dissipated in the air. Rumble. Yi Lui Han followed closely behind, his sea of baleful chi combined with the strength of a nirvana paragon. Baleful chi gushed forth in a torrential torrent, as baleful chi gushed forth. When he sensed the incoming Yelu Han, the yellow-clothed old man's face remained extremely calm from beginning to end, as if he did not care at all. However, a fierce glint flitted across his eyes as he threw out a palm strike with the back of his hand. "You're overestimating yourself. You're still too weak." Following the yellow-clothed old man's words, the palm print suddenly reached out and slammed into the sea of baleful aura. The seemingly tranquil palm suddenly erupted with a terrifying energy. Resplendent talisman runes shot out like bolts of lightning. With a speed visible to the naked eye, it shattered Yelu Han's surging infernal energy sea and meridian soul. Then, the palm smashed into Yelu Han's chest. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Yelu Han's face instantly turned deathly pale as he spurted out a mouthful of blood. His body was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. He heavily landed on the ground not far from where Dugufenshin had fallen. The ground rumbled as Dugufenshin and Yelu Han smashed into the ground, causing the earth to shake. The yellow-clothed old man landed on the ground. His eyes were cold as he looked at Yelu Han and Dugufenshin, who were struggling to get up from the ground. He said indifferently, "Since you refuse a toast, you must drink a forfeit. If you don't obediently hand it over, I'll take it myself." As his cold voice rang out, a cold light flashed in the yellow-clothed old man's eyes. A yellow light flashed under his feet and his figure left an afterimage. In a flash, he appeared in front of Dugufenshin and Yelu Han, who had just struggled to get up. With a clench of his hand, a huge claw mark twisted the void and swept towards Dugufenshin and Yelu Han. The claw mark twisted the void. The invisible Saint Realm energy sealed the space and suppressed Dugufenshin and Yelu Han, making it difficult for them to move. The sharp blade-like crack on the fingertip rapidly enlarged in their eyes, bringing with it the aura of death. At this moment, although Yelu Han and Dugufenshin were Nirvana sovereigns, the peak existences of the younger generation, they couldn't be compared to a true Saint Realm expert. Moreover, in the past 3 months, the recovery of the world's energy had allowed the original Saint Realm cultivators to advance to the next level. Suddenly, in a split second, when Dugufenshin and Yelu Han felt despair and sensed the aura of death, when the sharp claw mark was already in front of them, a strange sound of breaking wind suddenly came from the distorted void. Swish! The sound of breaking wind resounded as a dazzling purple flame pierced through the void. In an instant, it ruthlessly collided with the yellow-clothed old man's claw mark. Gee! When it collided with the claw, purple flames erupted. It was as if a living purple flame demonic phoenix was flapping its wings. The blazing and destructive aura was many times stronger than the flames on Dugufenshin's body. In an instant, it directly blocked the claw, burned it, disintegrated it, and was annihilated. The temperature in the void erupted and white smoke billowed in the surrounding void. Dang dang! The sudden change caused the yellow-clothed old man's expression to change greatly. He involuntarily took a few steps back and raised his eyes to look in front of him. At the same time, a majestic and muscular figure appeared in front of Yelu Han and Dugufenshin. His face was full of curly beard and his eyes were calm, but there was a hint of sharpness. This sudden change caused Yelu Han and Dugufenshin, who were already in despair, to be stunned and shocked. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han were stunned because the aura of that person was extremely familiar. It reminded them of a person. That person was someone they would never forget for the rest of their lives. But that guy was already dead. Looking at the back in front of them, Dugufenshin and Yelu Han looked at each other. They didn't seem to be familiar with that person. Dugufenshin and Yelu Han didn't expect that someone would come to their rescue at this critical moment. "Take it and heal your injuries. Leave the rest to me." The curly-bearded man who suddenly appeared glanced at the yellow-clothed old man indifferently. Then, he turned around and handed over several different domain-grade spiritual pills to Dugufenshin and Yelu Han. Looking at the curly-bearded face in front of them, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at each other in a daze. It seemed like they wanted to find something, but they couldn't find anything. "Take it," Du Xiaofu said. He also felt a little strange. It was a small world. He didn't expect that he would be able to discover that this place wasn't normal with the bloodline soul of the red-bone horse monkey. Adding on Hua Leizi's reminder, he knew that this place was sealed by a Saint Realm expert and the aura was quite familiar. Therefore, Du Xiaofu directly broke the seal and came to their rescue at the critical moment. A seal placed by a Saint Realm expert and with the bloodline soul of the red-bone horse monkey, it wasn't a problem for Du Xiaofu to break it. What surprised Du Xiaofu was that the familiar aura belonged to Dugufenshin and Yelu Han. Hearing this, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at the curly-bearded man in front of them with an astonished expression. They seemed to have thought of something in an instant. Then, their eyes changed and they stared at Du Xiaofu as if they had seen a ghost. Their expressions were emotional and complicated as they said in unison, "It's you." Others might not be able to recognize Du Xiaofu, but how could Yelu Han and Dugufenshin not recognize him? Back then, Du Xiaofu had used that strange disguise technique to trick them. Now that they thought about it, it was still vivid in their minds. As for seeing Du Xiaofu being killed by the demon god, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin felt that it was inconceivable. After all, they had seen it with their own eyes and it was done by the demon god. However, when they thought about the unbelievable legend that guy had left behind and saw the figure in front of them again, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin absolutely believed it. After all, they really couldn't think of anyone else who could resist the power of a saint stage cultivator and save them other than that guy. "Yes, it's me." Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. He wasn't surprised that Yelu Han and Dugufenshin could recognize him. These two guys were very clever. "How did you?" Dugufenshin seemed to want to ask something. There were many doubts in his heart. "Heal your injuries first. We'll talk later." Du Xiaofu interrupted Dugufenshin. Looking at Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin didn't hesitate. They took the healing elixirs from Du Xiaofu's hand and directly stuffed them into their mouths. "Kitor," the yellow-clothed old man had been looking at Du Xiaofu in astonishment since he had suddenly appeared. There was a trace of fear in his eyes. His intuition told him that this person was only a junior. In fact, he hadn't even reached the sage realm. However, Yi Futian had been able to silently appear within his seal. Yi Futian hadn't even torn his seal apart and blocked his attack. Yi Futian's strength didn't seem to be proportional to his cultivation. "This old guy is a saint beast. Be careful." Yelu Han warned Du Xiaofu after hearing the yellow-clothed old man's words. But as soon as his voice fell, the corners of his mouth rose into a bitter smile. The demon king in front of him didn't die even when the demon emperor attacked. The yellow-clothed old man in front of him probably couldn't do anything to him. "I know that this old guy isn't weak, but I'll help you teach him a lesson." Du Xiaofu smiled at Yelu Han, then turned around and looked at the yellow-clothed old man. His expression instantly became gloomy, as if he was a completely different person from before. "You'll know who I am in a moment. But since you dared to attack my brother, I'm afraid you'll have to pay the price today." How could Du Xiaofu forget this yellow-clothed old man? When he was about to seize the Daluo sword formation in front of the Eternal Tomb, it was this yellow-clothed old man who had hidden himself and suddenly attacked, causing the Daluo sword formation to escape. It could be said that the enmity between him and the yellow-clothed old man had been formed in front of the Eternal Tomb. Chapter 2169. Now that they had met again, how could Du Xiaofu let this old man go? He would take revenge if he had a grudge. The former was at the Saint Beast realm, so he could test himself. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the corners of the yellow-clothed old man's eyes couldn't help but twitch. His expression gradually became gloomy and cold as he said, "Brat, you're talking big. You're the one who barged in, so you can only blame yourself for courting death." Du Xiaofu ignored the yellow-clothed old man's words. He looked straight at the latter, then slowly walked over with a calm expression. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's eyes began to emit a fierce and domineering aura. Seeing Du Xiaofu's actions, the yellow-clothed old man's eyes became more and more gloomy. Under the invisible aura, he knew that although the bearded man in front of him didn't have the aura of the Saint Realm, his aura secretly gave him a sense of oppression. It was as if he was facing an invisible giant. The other party was able to enter his seal without anyone noticing. This already proved that he was not an ordinary person. If you want to court death, then this old man will fulfill your wish today. However, being looked down upon by a young man who didn't seem to have reached the saint realm and was clearly a realm lower than him, the yellow-clothed old man couldn't help but laugh in anger. He suppressed the invisible oppression in his heart, and a surge of profound energy accompanied by a beast's aura surged out from his body. A yellow profound energy accompanied by mysterious runes caused small pitch-black spatial cracks to appear in the void. He slightly clenched his withered hand, and the yellow profound energy at his fingertips was like yellow lightning that shuttled back and forth. It was incomparably sharp and pierced through the void. Swish! In an instant, facing Du Xiaofu who was walking over leisurely, the yellow-clothed old man directly attacked with his claw. The void was directly torn apart, and the sharp sound of wind breaking resounded, causing people's hearts to palpitate. This claw was as fast as lightning, and it tore through the void. Yelu Han and Du Gefenshen, who had already retreated, couldn't help but inwardly gasp for Du Xiaofu. Although they knew Du Xiaofu's strength, and even in the Eternal Tomb, Du Xiaofu's body had a terrifying external force that allowed him to fight several Saint Realm experts, they still couldn't help but be on edge. Swish! The claw tore through the void. The Saint Realm's move was even faster than lightning, and it instantly arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. With the claw. However, just as the claw print was about to reach him, Du Xiaofu's eyes twitched slightly. His feet moved like a deity, changing unpredictably. His body moved in a strange arc, drawing an unbelievable arc in the void. The muffled sound caused the void to rumble, and lightning flashed in the sky. The fist and palm separated as soon as they collided, and the void collapsed. Terrifying rune energy rippled out like a tsunami, and an invisible domineering aura spread out in all directions. This aura caused the eyes of Yelu Han and Du Gefenshen, who already knew what was going on, to fiercely tremble. This domineering aura was too familiar to them. And from the looks of it, this demon king in front of them had improved a lot during this period of time. Dang dang! In an instant, the yellow-clothed old man and Du Xiaofu both retreated 3 steps at the same time. Ka-ka! The ground beneath their feet cracked, and the rocks turned into dust as cracks spread out. When the yellow-clothed old man stabilized his body, his face was filled with shock. He stared at Du Xiaofu and said, "Boy, you hid your Saint Realm cultivation?" The yellow-clothed old man was too shocked. Just now, they had fought head-on, but the other party was actually on par with him. His palm was secretly in pain, and the Xian Qi in his body was surging. He was almost directly suppressed by the former. With such strength, how could the boy in front of him not be a Saint Realm cultivator? If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation had improved a lot due to the recovery of the world's energy, he was afraid that he would have suffered a loss just now. At this moment, seeing that Du Xiaofu and the yellow-clothed old man were evenly matched, Yelu Han and Du Gefenshen were dumbfounded. They could feel that Du Xiaofu didn't use any external force, and his own strength was already enough to fight the yellow-clothed old man head-on. This kind of progress was too shocking. Has this guy really broken through to the Saint Realm? Yelu Han and Du Gefenshen couldn't help but wonder if Du Xiaofu's cultivation had already broken through to the Saint Realm. If he could fight against a Saint Realm expert without breaking through to the Saint Realm, then it was too terrifying. Du Xiaofu stabilized his body and looked at the yellow-clothed old man in front of him. He was secretly shocked. A Saint Beast Realm cultivator was indeed extraordinary. He smiled faintly and said with contempt, "Is this all you've got for a Saint Realm cultivator? Boy, haven't we met before? Why are you hiding your strength?" The yellow-clothed old man stared at Du Xiaofu. He felt that the former must be hiding his strength. Even the former's attack just now gave him a feeling of déjà vu, as if he had seen it somewhere before. "You're really noisy. If you want to fight, then fight. Anyway, you can't run away today." Du Xiaofu looked at the yellow-clothed old man and slightly raised his eyes. He didn't intend to let go of the old man's grudge. Golden light flickered on the soles of his feet, and then his figure suddenly disappeared mysteriously. Looking at Du Xiaofu's sudden disappearance, the yellow-clothed old man's pupils shrank. An angry smile appeared on his wretched face, and his figure instantly retreated. Chi! While the yellow-clothed old man's figure was rapidly retreating, Du Xiaofu's ghostly figure appeared in front of him again. Golden light filled the sky, and the incomparably domineering claw print was extremely tricky and sharp as it enveloped the yellow-clothed old man. In front of the claw print, dazzling mysterious runes wreaked havoc like golden lightning. It was as if a golden-winged rock was about to spread its wings and soar into the 9 heavens. This was the rock's chaos-shattering claw. A domineering and terrifying aura erupted, as if a real golden-winged rock had descended. It made the beast's soul in the yellow-clothed old man's mind tremble involuntarily. The yellow-clothed old man's expression changed again, but instinctively he condensed a fist print in front of him. A fist print blasted out, and a greenish-yellow fox beast shadow appeared brightly. The void around the fox beast shadow was filled with pitch-black cracks. Accompanied by the roar of the Saint State's power, the surging power was like a spark that set the prairie ablaze. It swept out in all directions and blocked Du Xiaofu's rock's chaos-shattering claw. Chi. The two collided and then collapsed at the same time. As the void collapsed, the yellow-clothed old man's expression changed. The golden-winged rock beast ability, "Boy, who are you?" After several consecutive failures, coupled with the golden-winged rock supreme beast ability and that familiar aura, the yellow-clothed old man's face was also filled with true shock. The emperor of the desolate country, the young clan leader of the golden-winged rock clan, Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu stabilized his body and looked at the yellow-clothed old man. His calm voice revealed his identity. There was no need to hide it anymore. If he didn't want to expose himself, he wouldn't be able to do anything to this old man. As his voice faded, the strange aura on Du Xiaofu's body fluctuated. Under the complicated gazes of Yelu Han and Du Gefenshen, Du Xiaofu returned to his original appearance. His curly bearded face became resolute and determined, and his eyes sparkled with golden light. The faint voice landed in the yellow-clothed old man's ears, and he couldn't help but tremble. When he looked at Du Xiaofu, who had returned to his original appearance, the yellow-clothed old man's wretched face was so shocked that it twisted together. His voice also became somewhat hoarse, and he was flabbergasted as he said, "Boy, aren't you dead?" Chapter 2170. How could the yellow-robed old man forget Du Xiaofu's true appearance? Back then, the Demon King had been so terrifying in the Eternal Tomb. He had seen it with his own eyes. But now, the Demon King had actually come back from the dead and appeared in front of him. How could he not be surprised? "I don't want to die, so I won't die." Du Xiaofu looked at the yellow-robed old man and said, "It's time for us to settle the score." The yellow-robed old man's face twitched. He naturally knew that the Demon King in front of him was talking about the time outside the Eternal Tomb. They had once fought over the treasured sword, but in the end he did not succeed. Du Xiaofu, treasures belong to those who are fated to get it. You didn't get it, so it's not your fault. It has nothing to do with me. Those two people are related to you, so I'll give you face and not touch them. How about we stop here?" The yellow-robed old man said. He was a little afraid. Not to mention the previous few moves, the former had already shocked him repeatedly. Moreover, he had seen it with his own eyes. Back then, there was a terrifying demon spirit expert in this boy's body. With that external force, he was afraid that he could not afford to provoke him. Even if that demon spirit expert was not here at the moment, the yellow-robed old man could not help but be a little afraid of the golden-winged great rocks. Jalobatian alone was enough to make him avoid him. Not long ago, there was an ancient expert from the golden-winged great rocks. This boy was the young master of the golden-winged great rocks. He did not want to provoke the golden-winged great rocks, nor could he afford to. However, Du Xiaofu did not share the same thoughts as the yellow-clothed old man. He looked at the latter and smiled faintly. He was incomparably overbearing and sharp as he said, "You touched two of my brothers and snatched my treasures. Do you think that you can forget about this debt just because you say so?" "Boy," the yellow-robed old man's face was ugly. He had already expressed his goodwill, but he did not expect that the other party would take an inch and want a mile. He did not take him seriously at all. He, the old monster green fox, was a Saint Realm cultivator, one of the most powerful beings in the world. How could he be looked down upon like this? One could imagine how he felt. Brat, don't flaunt your prowess just because you have someone else's power. Using external power won't do you any good. The old monster green fox's face was gloomy. He had to be afraid of the demon spirit expert called Huole. To deal with you, why would I need to rely on the strength of others? Du Xiaofu said indifferently. He knew what the yellow-robed old man was thinking. He was probably testing whether or not Du Xiaofu had the fire thunder seed on him. The old monster green fox's face twitched. He was secretly pondering. When the boy was attacked by the demon god, the mysterious fire thunder seed did not follow him. At this moment, the fire thunder seed might not be in the boy's body. However, the reason why the old monster green fox could reach where he was today, step into the Saint Realm, and even survive the catastrophe back then, was that he was careful, never took risks, and never provoked strong enemies. Therefore, the old monster of the green fox tribe did not intend to take the risk. Today, a young man suddenly appeared, and he could no longer touch the two juniors. Old thing, let's continue. Looking at the flickering eyes of the yellow-robed old man in front of him, Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly flashed with golden light. The golden rock wings swept out in an instant with an unparalleled overbearing momentum. The golden rock wings flapped fiercely, and Du Xiaofu moved like a deity with the wave-treading freedom steps. Du Xiaofu dashed out of the terrible energy storm with a rumbling sound. Boom! In a flash, Du Xiaofu appeared in front of the old monster of the green fox tribe in a straight line. He clenched his fist, and a strange and violent energy fluctuation had already rippled out. The energy, which seemed to have materialized, wrapped around his palm. In an instant, it changed into 4 colors, overlapped, and finally took shape. Ow! Sweet. In an instant, the formed palm print shone brilliantly, and a strong pressure spread out from it. There was a faint roar of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles. Without any delay, Du Xiaofu's palm print was as fast as lightning and as powerful as thunder. He directly slapped the old monster of the green fox tribe. Boom! Wherever the palm print passed, the surrounding space immediately rumbled for no reason. Dazzling light rose in the wind and suddenly swept out. Then, it was accompanied by a destructive power that directly descended. The old monster of the green fox tribe's expression changed drastically. In an instant, a bluish-yellow light burst out and condensed into a dazzling palm print that collided with the palm print. In an instant, the two palms collided, and a shocking muffled sound of energy suddenly resounded in the void. Rumble! Rumble! Under the trembling gazes of Dugafenshin and Yelu Han, the place where the two palms collided burst with light. Gorgeous runes erupted, and terrifying energy ripples swept out like huge waves, accompanied by astonishing roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles. Ow! Coo! The roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles could be heard. The phantoms of the green dragon, the white tiger, the phoenix, the black tortoise, and the black tortoise appeared. The phantoms of the 4 beasts roared like thunder. Their awe-inspiring pressure made the world boil, and their domineering energy surged into the sky. Bang, bang, bang! A large area of the void collapsed, revealing a deep dark vacuum. Thump, 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 thump. The old monster of the green fox tribe was shocked, and his feet rubbed against the ground as he retreated more than 10 steps. Not only that, under the domineering power, the blood and chi in his body were surging, and he almost vomited blood. He forced himself to hold back the blood in his throat, but his face had turned pale. Sizzle. This time, although Du Xiaofu was retreating, the golden wings on his back flapped. He only retreated a little in the void and then stabilized his body. A smile flashed across Du Xiaofu's face. He seemed to be quite satisfied with the strength he had shown. Bastard! The old monster of the green fox tribe was furious, and his pale face was extremely gloomy. He could feel that Du Xiaofu did not intend to let him go. He did not show any mercy. The reason why he did not want to provoke this guy was definitely not that he was afraid of a junior who had not set foot in the Sage Realm. What he was really afraid of were the mysterious Fire Thunder Master and the golden-winged great rocks. However, now that he had avoided Qin Haodong again and again, this guy was insatiable and did not take him seriously at all. It was true that the old monster of the Green Fox tribe did not provoke powerful enemies. However, once he provoked them, he would directly kill them. As long as they died, he would have no enemies. Feeling the sharp pain in his palm, the old monster of the Green Fox tribe's eyes flashed with a cold light. The junior in front of him had completely angered him. As a holy beast, was he really afraid of him? As long as this guy in front of him died, the golden-winged great rocks would not know. This guy seemed to have a lot of treasures. When he got them, he would be able to protect himself before the great calamity came. Boy, you are courting death. Although you have a lot of abilities, if you really think that you can be so arrogant in front of a real Sage Realm cultivator with those talents, I am afraid that you are a little too naive. The old monster of the Green Fox tribe's voice was no longer loud but gloomy and frightening. As soon as he finished speaking, his face, which was extremely gloomy, was filled with coldness. A terrible greenish-yellow light roared up like an erupting volcano, causing the void to rumble and the earth to tremble. Boom! At this moment, the eyes of the old monster of the Green Fox tribe quietly turned into a strange greenish-yellow color. As the light burst out, the void was flooded. His body expanded and in an instant, he turned into a huge demon fox that was thousands of feet long. The demon fox was in the sky. The greenish-yellow light was dazzling. A sharp and cold killing intent reached its peak and swept across the void. Howl! As the void rumbled, the demon fox floated in the void. Its pair of murderous greenish-yellow eyes were terrifying. Its robust body was running in the air, and it looked like it was about to pounce. Its huge tail was raised high, and a row of sharp fangs was revealed in its bloody mouth. The sound of hissing was like the cry of ghosts and the howl of gods. Green light sky-shattering fox. Mo Tian Xiao and Yelu Han clicked their tongues when they saw the demon fox that wasn't big but possessed a terrifying aura. It was a green light sky-shattering fox, one of the most powerful beings in the fox tribe. It was said that the fox tribe had a glorious past. There were many legends about the blood fox, the divine fox, and the most mysterious nine-tailed demon fox. Green light sky-shattering fox? Du Xiaofu's gaze rose slightly as he gazed at the azure radiance heaven-shattering fox. A strand of battle intent surged from his heart as he faced a Saint Beast Realm azure radiance heaven-shattering fox. This was a real test. Du Xiaofu had never wanted to have a duel with someone at the same level as him. Fighting against a sage before becoming a sage. This was what Du Xiaofu wanted. So what if you are in the Holy Beast Realm? I can still beat you up. With a loud laugh, Du Xiaofu's eyes glowed with golden light. An aura that was not inferior to that of the old demon green fox quietly swept out from his body and soared into the sky. In an instant, golden light bloomed. Rays of light that looked like feathers gushed out from Du Xiaofu's body and instantly condensed into a magnificent golden armor that covered his whole body. Screech! The screech of a golden-winged rock could be heard from the armor. It pierced through the clouds and cracked the stones. An incomparably domineering aura swept across the void, making him look like a real human-shaped rock. The old demon green fox stared at Du Xiaofu. The aura of the real golden-winged rock made him unable to tell whether the demon king in front of him was a human being or a golden-winged rock, even though he had lived for so many years. However, this was not important. The old demon green fox did not believe that he, who was in the Holy Beast Realm, was inferior to this guy in front of him. You are not a golden-winged rock. No one can protect you today. The old demon green fox sneered. His ferocious beast body contained the holy might. Endless pressure spread out, distorted the void, and rushed toward Du Xiaofu violently. This was the power of an expert in the Holy Beast Realm. At this moment, the old demon green fox was going all out. Every move of his showed the horror of an expert in the Holy Beast Realm. Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold. He stared straight at the old demon green fox, who was rushing toward him. In the golden light in his eyes, a purple thunderbolt suddenly flashed out. The golden rock wings on his back were suddenly covered with purple electric arcs and covered with the thunder martial vein. He shook his arms and activated the shaking wings on his back. Then he slapped the old demon green fox hard. Chapter 2171. Rumble. Golden light spread out from the shaking sky wings, and thunderbolts filled the sky. The shadow of a golden-winged rock was vaguely seen in the domineering aura. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and the power of the thunder martial vein was endless. Bang! The two collided, and the void exploded. The void was so chaotic that Yelu Han and Dugafenshin couldn't see what was going on. They only saw the old monster's body being blasted away. Roar! The old monster's eyes were filled with shock, and he stopped in an instant. The old monster was shocked. The former hadn't set foot in the Saint Realm, but the terrible thunder power and domineering aura made him feel uneasy and fearful. However, the old monster didn't believe it. That kid hadn't set foot in the Saint Realm. How could he be compared to a Saint Realm expert? Boom! The mysterious runes on his body erupted, and the aura of the old monster became stronger. With the rolling power of the Saint Realm, he suppressed Du Xiaofu with the power of the Saint Realm. Come on! Du Xiaofu was fearless. A divine ring appeared above his head, and the sound of heaven was endless. He fought against the old monster's Saint Realm expert with the infinite power of Nirvana and his vast chi. Screech! The rock's cry pierced the clouds and cracked the stones. Du Xiaofu's body was covered by purple thunderbolts, and a bright golden light burst out. The feather armor on his blue spirit armor came alive like the feathers of a rock, and it was as sharp as a blade. This was especially true for the golden wings on his back. They were exceptionally sharp, slicing through the void. Du Xiaofu attacked, and a terrible power was emitted from the blue spirit armor. At this moment, although Du Xiaofu hadn't set foot in the Saint Realm, the power erupting from his every move was comparable to that of a Saint Realm expert. How can that guy be so strong? Yelu Han and Dugafenshin were in the distance, and they were so shocked that they couldn't come back to their senses. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that someone who hadn't set foot in the Saint Realm had the strength to fight against a Saint Realm expert. It was unbelievable. There was a huge gap between the Saint Realm and the peak of the Domain Realm. No one could cross it. But now, the Demon King had broken the shackles and crossed the huge gap. Rock's Claw. Domineering Fist. Domineering Dao. Rock descending 9 heavens. Du Xiaofu attacked with all his strength, shattering the void. His voice was like thunder, all kinds of attacks, and the golden-winged Peng Supreme Beast became more and more tyrannical and offensive. As the great Peng flapped its golden wings, it was as if the great Peng had struck the sky and soared into the sky. Obviously, the progress he had made during this period of time, in addition to the various benefits he had gained from comprehending, were fully reflected in the strength that Du Xiaofu displayed at this moment. Du Xiaofu's terrifying physique and the azure spirit armor were his trump cards. Du Xiaofu had also gained some benefits from the Heavenly Wood Divine Tree and comprehended the weird and mysterious ultimacy. At this moment, the benefits were gradually revealed to him. The ultimacy could help Du Xiaofu recover quickly. In such a big battle, the ultimacy could bring him great benefits. However, the old monster Green Fox was a real holy beast. He was one of the most powerful beings in the world. He could tear the void and overturn mountains and rivers. If it weren't for the fact that the void was sealed by him, he would have destroyed this land. Du Xiaofu's rock was domineering and fierce. Relying on his strong body, he seemed to be suppressing the old monster Green Fox. However, Du Xiaofu was not strong enough to defeat the old monster Green Fox. The Saint Realm was a huge gap, a natural moat. It was definitely not easy to cross it. However, the more the old monster Green Fox fought, the more shocked he became. This guy is too terrifying. His body is abnormal and indestructible. The supreme nirvana is only for the power of thunder. The supreme beast energy of the golden-winged rock is also abnormal. He can resist the power of the holy beast. If the former steps into the Saint Realm, how terrifying will he be? Thinking of this, the old monster Green Fox couldn't help but tremble. Ow! The old monster green fox stretched out his sharp claws, and the void was directly torn apart. At this moment, the mysterious patterns of the fox talisman, which emitted a green light, appeared in the depths of his terrifying green and yellow eyes. His aura seemed to have reached its peak. Boom! In the next moment, the old monster green fox stepped out in the air. As if he had teleported, he crossed the void and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. Accompanied by the green light, the secret method of the Fox clan and the beast energy, the shadow of a beast rushed out of the claws and grabbed at Du Xiaofu's head. Seeing that the old monster green fox's aura had become stronger again, Du Xiaofu could feel that the old monster green fox was about to use his trump card. The rock flapped its golden wings and punched out fiercely without any fancy moves. This was a martial arts technique that Du Xiaofu had recently comprehended. He got it from the Heavenly Devil battlefield, which was left by an ancient expert. It was called the Star-Breaking Fist. Its offensive power was domineering. When practiced to the extreme, one could shatter stars, crack the space, and break the sky. Boom! As the punch swept out, the air in the void was compressed and directly exploded. Wherever the punch passed, the space was distorted and shattered. In the end, it collided with the old monster green fox's claws. At the moment of the collision, the void did not immediately explode, but there was a sharp sound of metal clashing. Rumble! Terrifying energy rune ripples swept out, and then the surrounding space exploded like fireworks, directly cracking and finally turning into a vacuum. Sizzle! However, at this moment, a cold smile appeared in the old monster green fox's terrifying eyes. This claw was not his trump card. The old monster green fox had been prepared for it. He stretched out his claws, which turned into 4 beams of dazzling light. Like sharp blades in the void, they cut through the void and stabbed toward Du Xiaofu's eyes at lightning speed in a ruthless and tricky trajectory. Du Xiaofu had already guessed that the old monster green fox had a trump card. He flapped his wings and sneered. As the purple-gold light burst out, he flapped his wings and soared into the sky. The rock's golden wings stretched out diagonally, isolating the void and directly resisting the sharp claw attack. Sizzle! The crowd was shocked. The purple-gold lightning on Du Xiaofu's rock's golden wings was also torn apart. Several feathers of the rock's golden wings were broken and drifted down. This claw print was very terrifying. It was powerful enough to kill those extraordinary masters at the peak of the immortal realm. Du Xiaofu had transcended his realm. With his strong physical body, he resisted the attack. Du Xiaofu had been prepared for this. When the claw print fell on the rock's golden wings, he made a handprint in his hand. The handprint was dazzling. Suddenly, palm prints poured out like a rainstorm and directly enveloped the old monster green fox. Heavenly Horse's violent palm. Du Xiaofu shouted in a deep voice. This was also a technique he obtained from the Heavenly Devil battlefield. It was left by an ancient mighty figure. It could burst out countless palm prints in an instant. The palm prints could explode the void and destroy everything. The old monster green fox was prepared for this, but he didn't expect Du Xiaofu's attacks to be endless. All kinds of strange and powerful martial arts and beast abilities emerged one after another. He had no choice but to resist the attack with all his strength. His whole body shone with dazzling light. With the advantage of the Saint Realm, he resisted the attack head-on. Bang, 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 bang. The void kept shattering, and energy burst out with muffled sounds. The violent power of the energy ripples made the scalps of Yelu Han and Dugafenshin in the distance tingle. They really couldn't believe that Du Xiaofu could fight so fiercely with a saint beast to such an amazing extent. Thump, thump. The old monster green fox was pushed back. His face was ferocious and his fangs were exposed. He didn't expect the former to be so powerful. Du Xiaofu was also pushed back. The feathers on the rock's golden wings on his back were broken, and there were cracks on the green spirit armor on his body. Awesome! Du Xiaofu said. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. Purple-gold electric arcs surged into the sky. The more he fought, the more exhilarated he became. The power of the Saint Realm was terrifying. It couldn't be resisted by the indestructible body. However, Du Xiaofu could barely resist the power of the Saint Realm expert with the infinite nirvana, the surging qi in his body, and various talents. Impossible, how can this be? The old monster green fox couldn't believe it. It felt that the former was getting stronger and stronger. It was getting more and more unable to suppress the former with its saint beast cultivation. The old monster green fox even felt that the former seemed to be deliberately fighting with its physical body. It was a beast and a saint beast. Under normal circumstances, a human of the saint realm in the same realm as it couldn't compete with it in terms of physical strength. However, the brat in front of it had an abnormal physical body that could suppress it. Every time it resisted, its qi and blood would surge, and its body would be injured. However, the other party was not injured at all. This brat is too mysterious. The old monster green fox's eyes trembled. It felt that if this continued, even if it was a saint beast, it would be tortured to death by this brat. It had chosen to fight with its physical body. Originally, it thought that it could gain the upper hand. It didn't expect the result to be like this. I have to admit that you are indeed extraordinary. You are beyond my expectation. Even those supreme masters at that time would be crushed by you in the same realm. The old monster green fox raised its head and stared at Du Xiaofu with its greenish-yellow eyes. It was sincerely admiring him. However, the old monster of the green fox tribe immediately grinned and bared his fangs. There were several shallow wounds on his face, which were caused by Du Xiaofu's thunder and lightning. The wounds made him look even more ferocious and terrifying. He said, "However, it's time to end this. You can't really cross the domain of a sage." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. After the fierce battle, he knew that it was indeed difficult to deal with a Saint Realm expert. He had been fighting against the old monster green fox just now, and the more he fought, the smoother the battle became. The strength of his physical body gave him a lot of advantages. However, it would be too easy for him to suppress a holy beast realm expert like this. Brat, now I'll show you what a real saint beast is like. The old monster green fox's face was ferocious, and a touch of scarlet appeared in its greenish-yellow eyes. Du Xiaofu stared at the old monster green fox and narrowed his purple-gold eyes slightly. Chapter 2172. Sky-Shattering Fox Supreme Seal. When the old demon green fox shouted, a huge illusory image of a sky-shattering fox condensed in front of him. In an instant, it surged wildly. The light seemed to fill the sky and shrouded the sky. An indescribable ferocious and murderous aura pressed down on the sky. This was the talent of the sky-shattering fox lineage of the old monster. It was also his absolute trump card. Even the Saint Realm cultivators of the same realm did not dare to touch it. Now that he had used his absolute trump card, the old monster had the intention to kill. Whether it was because he was afraid of the revenge of the golden-winged great rocks or the amazing strength and future that Du Xiaofu had shown, the old monster was deeply afraid of him. Since this kid refused to let go, he had to kill him today no matter what. Awoo! The shadow of the sky-shattering fox roared ferociously. Black light gushed out of its eyes. It was extremely terrifying. As the shadow of the sky-shattering fox appeared, it seemed that all the energy in the world was surging into its body. The greenish-yellow light flickered. A terrifying crushing force shattered the void and shrouded Du Xiaofu. The gigantic azure light shattering heavenly fox's silhouette collapsed, and wherever it passed, the void shattered inch by inch. From afar, it looked like a celestial fox had descended and swept down with a vacuum black hole. A monstrous murderous aura swept out wildly. It was enough to crush everything. Yelu Han and Dugafenshin felt the terrifying murderous aura from afar. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads and their hearts trembled. Even though they were far away from the battlefield, they could still feel the terrifying power at this moment. With this kind of power, if a Saint Realm cultivator of the same realm was crushed by it, he would be severely injured in an instant. No one below the Saint Realm could stop it. Du Xiaofu stood in the void. The golden rock wings on his back spread out. He was as immovable as a rock and as immovable as a mountain. At the same time, Du Xiaofu looked at the terrifying shadow of the sky-shattering fox. He formed a hand seal in his hand. A domineering energy fluctuation rose and fell with purple-gold electric arcs. Both of them soared into the sky at the same time. The purple-gold electric arcs streaked across the sky like purple-gold rainbows. Dazzling purple electric runes surged in all directions and spread across the sky. It was like a rising sun, shaking the sky. Everything happened very quickly, in just a short instant. Amidst the thunder, the dazzling purple-gold electric arcs, and the shadow of a huge purple-gold golden-winged great rock, enveloped Du Xiaofu. Chirp! The two of them seemed as if they'd fused into one, and their ferocious might swept out and caused the entire heavens and the earth to tremble. Break! Break! Du Xiaofu's shout resounded from within the violet gold thunder rock. It flapped its wings and soared into the sky. A terrifying and tyrannical murderous aura seemed to cause the heavens and earth to tremble, and it shook the hearts and souls of all. At this moment, the shadow of the sky-shattering fox stared at the purple-gold golden-winged great rock in front of it. It seemed to have felt something, and it was secretly throbbing and uneasy. However, it did not retreat. Instead, it swooped down and pounced with a violent and destructive aura. Chirp! The purple-gold thunder rock's eyes shot out purple-gold electric arcs. They were like two suns shining in the sky, overlooking the world. In the void above its head, the divine halo was shining brightly. It did not retreat and directly collided with the rock. Rumble! The two huge and terrifying bodies collided and exploded in the void. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had merged the supreme beast ability of the golden-winged great rock with the thunder martial vein. Along with the boundless power of nirvana, the great rock struck the sky and released an endless domineering aura. Such a collision caused the sky to explode. Divine radiance covered the sky, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The void, which had been sealed by the old monster green fox, was also showing signs of cracking. Rumble! This kind of collision was too astonishing. Resplendent energy radiance blossomed, and mysterious symbols covered the entire sky. Supreme power surged, turning this heaven and earth upside down. Heaven and earth were turned upside down. The entire void that could be seen was blurred. The earth and the void were collapsing at the same time. Crack, crack. Large cracks appeared on the ground, crisscrossing like a spider web. Mountains and rivers collapsed. Such a scene shocked Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin so much that they kept quiet out of fear. Their hearts trembled, and their faces turned pale. In the sky that was collapsing, the huge purple-gold thunder rock and the sky-shattering fox's shadow corroded each other. Dazzling light erupted, and purple-gold electric arcs fell like a waterfall. In the end, they dissipated at the same time. When the void gradually calmed down, Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin saw Du Xiaofu and the old monster green fox appear at the same time while their hearts were pounding. Chi! Du Xiaofu's body collapsed in a straight line. When his figure fell to the ground, he stomped his feet at the same time. The ground under his feet cracked continuously, and the cracks spread in all directions. Dust flew everywhere, and the blue spirit armor on his body emitted faint cracking sounds. Under the terrifying pressure, cracks appeared on it. The light dimmed, and a trace of golden blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The Saint Beast realm is really strong. Du Xiaofu's mouth curved into a wry smile. He had used the Nirvana Supreme Beast Strength, the Thunder Martial Vein, and the Golden Winged Rock. It could be said that he had used all his trump cards, but he was still injured. At this moment, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but be deeply shocked. No wonder it was said that there was an insurmountable gap between the Saint Realm and the Saint Realm. It was really difficult to cross. If it weren't for the blue spirit armor and the indestructible Xian body, he would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. The reason he could withstand it was because of his extraordinary physical body. Puff! The old monster of the green fox was shaken back in the void. Its body was covered with purple-gold electric arcs, and blood seeped out of its wounds. A mouthful of blood flowed out of its ferocious mouth, staining its fangs. It looked extremely terrifying. There was shock, surprise, and astonishment in its eyes. The old monster of the green fox had a complicated look in its eyes, and its face was gloomy. It seemed that it couldn't believe that it had used its talent and trump cards, but the result was like this. It didn't gain any advantage. It seemed that both sides were injured. The old monster of the green fox stared at Du Xiaofu and didn't say anything. However, a mysterious aura began to emanate from its body, resonating with heaven and earth. Mysterious talisman patterns appeared in the void, emitting wisps of Saint Might. Boom! In an instant, the Saint Might was so strong that a strange phenomenon appeared in the void of heaven and earth. The entire space seemed to begin to shrink and rotate. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled and his face changed. The void of heaven and earth seemed to have turned into a prison, imprisoning him in it. There was a violent destructive force gushing out, about to destroy everything. Rumble! The old monster of the green fox floated in the void, and the green and yellow light shone again. The void of this area seemed to be about to be turned upside down. A strange phenomenon appeared in the sky, as if stars were falling. Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han, who were in the distance, suddenly spat out blood. At this moment, in this space, the terrifying destructive force was not targeted at them. Just the aftermath alone was enough to make them unable to resist. Oh no! With blood dripping from the corners of their mouths, Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin looked solemn. The real winner of this battle was about to be decided. It's over. No matter how extraordinary you are, you will be destroyed today. The old monster of the green fox said indifferently. At this moment, his eyes were ferocious, but his expression was surprisingly calm. There was a vast pressure coming from him, as if he could bear the weight of heaven and earth. The old monster of the green fox's body glowed, and his whole body made a sonorous sound. A strange phenomenon appeared in the sky, pouring down like a waterfall and crushing Du Xiaofu. Boom! The green spirit armor on Du Xiaofu's body began to crack. The golden wings on his back spread out, but they were also suppressed, and the light dimmed. Sizzle! Golden blood flowed out of the cracked green spirit armor, and the helmet cracked. Du Xiaofu also spat out blood. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's expression suddenly turned solemn. This space seemed to have become a cage, and his body was trapped in it. The endless pressure of heaven and earth pressed down, trying to destroy everything in Du Xiaofu's body. This pressure was too strong. It came from heaven and earth, and the saint's power was strong. This is the sign of a Saint Realm expert. This is the power of the Saint Realm. It can crush all living things and suppress all directions. Du Xiaofu whispered with a solemn expression. At this moment, in this void, it was as if he was trapped in a cage. This was the real horror of a Saint Realm expert. It was the sign of a Saint Realm expert who was beyond the immortal realm and the domain realm. Under the saint's power, it suppressed all directions and crushed all living things. Du Xiaofu's body sank deep into the ground. His knees had sunk into the rocky ground, and he spat out another mouthful of blood. The green spirit armor was almost destroyed. It's over, Old Monster Green Fox said. The sky was filled with green and yellow light. His beast body was shrouded in divine brilliance, and the saint's power lingered. It was as if a divine fox had come to the world, and the world was turned upside down. This part of the void was distorted, and a vision appeared in the sky. The destructive power swept over Du Xiaofu. We're in big trouble. Without stepping into the Saint Realm, we can't really fight against a Saint Realm expert. Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin's faces were pale. The residual power in this space made them vomit blood. Du Xiaofu's green spirit armor was almost destroyed. His body was bleeding, and half of his body was buried in the ground. The feathers on Du Xiaofu's golden wings were also falling. Only the 36 feathers of the true rock were shining. Then let's end it. At this moment, Du Xiaofu raised his head. As these words came out, a dazzling silver-gold electric arc rushed out from between his eyebrows and shot into the sky. It's midnight. There are not many flowers left until tomorrow's extra update. Brothers and sisters, please send me a few flowers as thanks. By the way, I'd like to tell you that Yu's original WeChat account was hacked. He didn't know how to get it back, so he had to apply for a new account. This time, he cleverly used his ID card to bind his account. His WeChat account is called Yu Feng Benzhen. Brothers, please add him again. Updates and small gifts will be easy to send. Thank you. Chapter 2173. Boom, boom. At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the void above, turning into thunder and lightning that covered the sky and earth. The lightning was of various colors. There was earth-shattering thunder, soul-destroying thunder, tying heavenly thunder, and so on. There were 5 types of spiritual thunder in total. Their auras filled the void. The lightning arcs were dazzling, and the lightning runes were densely packed, illuminating the void. Amidst the lightning that filled the sky, a gigantic red-boned horse-ape rushed out. In that instant, it released a violent and destructive pressure. Rumble, silver-gold lightning swept out, covering the void. The red-boned horse-ape roared. Its eyes seemed to contain 2 golden suns. Silver-gold light filled the air and poured out in all directions. This was Du Xiaofu's red-boned horse-ape primordial spirit, which contained 5 types of spiritual thunder. Back when he was in the Eternal Tomb, Du Xiaofu could kill all opponents below the Saint Realm with this terrifying Pulse Soul primordial spirit. Now that Du Xiaofu used the power of his Pulse Soul, its power was much stronger than before. Lightning exploded, overturning the void, causing the mountains and rivers in this void to lose their color and the universe to shake. And that wasn't all. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit and the red-boned horse monkey's body weren't just primordial spirits, but also his meridians and souls. As he roared, the enormous red-boned horse monkey's body exploded with golden light, and his spirit eyes looked down upon the world. The red-boned horse-ape's aura was like the beginning of the world. It swept out in all directions, wanting to turn the universe upside down and shatter it. I have to admit that you have exceeded my expectations time and time again. If this was 3 months ago, I might not have been able to do anything to you. Unfortunately, you are still a little short now. You don't have any ability now, do you? The old monster green fox said calmly, but the shock in the depths of his eyes could not be concealed. If this had been 3 months ago, he would not have been able to do anything to this red-boned horse-ape and several types of spiritual thunder. He might even have been suppressed. Fortunately, he had improved a lot in these 3 months. Is that so? Du Xiaofu, whose knees had sunk deep into the ground, raised his head and spoke faintly. Light flashed across his body, and his black hair was dyed with purple electric arcs. The rocks on the ground around his feet turned into fine powder for no reason. At the same time as the hand seal condensed, a dazzling stream of light shot out from between his eyebrows. Buzz. When this dazzling stream of light shot out, a buzzing sound of wind and thunder resounded, and a faint silver-gold longsword appeared in the sky. Boom! The sword chi was swift and fierce, and the sword's cry was like wind and thunder. A majestic aura burst out, and an incomparably terrifying fluctuation spread out, causing one's divine soul to tremble for no reason. This is... The eyes of the old monster green fox trembled. Although the color of the long sword had changed slightly and there were more silver-gold electric arcs, he recognized it at once. It was the sword that he had tried to seize in front of the square of the Tomb of Eternity but failed in the end. At this moment, the long sword was in the air, and the sound of wind and thunder resounded. The sword chi that permeated the air was like a natural counter to the beast's soul, causing it to tremble. Swish, swish, swish. Du Xiaofu's hand's seal condensed instantly. Suddenly, the long sword turned into a series of sword shadows and spread out. Innumerable sword shadows split and grew. They were densely packed and mysterious as they revolved around Yishiwen. Then, they erupted with electric sword radiance that blotted out the sky and the sun. An invisible wave of aura spread out in an instant, causing ripples to surge in the space. As the ripples spread out, the space was distorted, and the ripples in the space were shattering. At this moment, as the majestic and fierce aura spread out, the sword shadows cut through the space, and a pitch-black light vaguely appeared at the tip of the sword. Under the terrifying sword light's power, one's divine soul trembled, and one's hair stood on end. What a terrifying pressure! My primordial spirit can't withstand it. Dugu Fenshin and Yelu Han's pale faces were filled with shock. They had seen the sword with their own eyes. In the end, a group of Saint Realm experts chased after it, but they never thought that the sword would end up in the Demon King's hands. What shocked them even more was that the pressure from the sword seemed to specifically target the primordial spirit. From afar, they felt as if their primordial spirits in their Naiwan palaces had been struck by lightning, and they trembled. Since you wanted to steal it back then, I'll grant you your wish. Daluo sword formation, go. When Du Xiaofu finished speaking, the Daluo sword formation trembled. The sword formation turned into tens of thousands of streaks of light that revolved in a profound manner and soared into the sky. Swish, 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 swish. In an instant, the world trembled as tens of thousands of sword shadows shot out with resplendent silver lightning. The sword shadows were like lightning as they pierced through space. A shocking pressure spread out as they tore through the air. The dense sword shadows were mysterious and connected with each other. Their power multiplied, and they were vast and unfathomable. They suppressed the primordial spirit and filled the world. Such a sword formation was rarely seen in the world. For a moment, no one knew how to deal with it. The old monster green fox was also stunned. He was swept by such a terrifying sword formation and was flustered for a moment. He didn't know how to break it, so he could only use his full strength to block it with the power of a Saint Realm expert. Clang clang, rumble. The sword shadows clanged, and the wind and thunder were deafening, accompanied by lightning and thunder. Tens of thousands of sword shadows arrived in an instant. The sword shadows were like lightning, and the sword chi was like rainbows. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and they were incomparably gorgeous. They pierced through the void and bloomed in this distorted world. Within this sword formation, there was an aura that suppressed the primordial spirit. It was even more terrifying. When such a sword light appeared, it fiercely collided with the distorted void amidst the spiritual lightning that filled the sky. In an instant, the wind and thunder rumbled endlessly. The mysterious runes on the talismans were gorgeous, and lightning interweaved. Crack crack. It didn't take long for the phenomenon in this distorted space to collapse. It was like countless meteors had exploded, and the entire space began to collapse. Puff! At this moment, the old monster green fox seemed to be greatly affected by something. Blood spurted out of the corner of his ferocious mouth and dripped from his fangs. When the void shattered, a golden light flashed in the air. A gigantic red-bone horse monkey appeared in the air and punched out. A blurry light engulfed the area, as though the heavens and earth had just been created. The space before the fist became blurry and distorted as it swept out in all directions, suppressing everything. Rumble! The golden light surged, and the void collapsed. The fist landed directly on the shoulder of the old monster green fox. The golden light was like a golden thunderbolt, causing cracks to appear on the shoulder of the old monster green fox. His skin and flesh were torn apart. Crack crack. The terrifying force poured out heavily, causing the bones of the old demon green fox's shoulders to crack. His huge body fell heavily to the ground, causing the earth to shake and the ground to explode. Puff! The old monster green fox spat out another mouthful of blood. He looked at the red-bone horse monkey and the young figure in the void in horror. He was terrified and in disbelief. The old monster green fox could not believe that he had been defeated. As a holy beast, he had been defeated by a young man with the cultivation of the undying and indestructible realm. Moreover, he had been defeated so miserably. One could imagine how the old monster green fox felt at this moment. Buzz! The Daluo sword formation rotated. Sword shadows streaked across the sky, causing the void to tremble. In the end, they turned into a dazzling long sword. Du Xiaofu held it tightly in his hand and stared straight at the old monster green fox. The old monster green fox's beast eyes flickered. He looked at the young man's eyes and felt the domineering and fierce look in them. The old monster green fox even felt a hint of killing intent on the young man's face. The Demon King seemed to have the intention to kill him. The old monster green fox's heart trembled for no reason. A chill surged from the depths of his beast soul. The old monster green fox had witnessed the means and ferocity of this young man in front of him in the tomb of eternity with his own eyes. Now that he had the intention to kill him, he would not give up easily. Looking at the uncertain look on the old monster green fox's face, the chill in Du Xiaofu's eyes was undisguised on his pale face at this moment. The old monster in front of him was extremely cunning. Judging from his moves, he was cunning and ruthless. If he was not weaker than him, this old monster would definitely kill him mercilessly. They had a grudge against each other last time. This time, because of Du Gufengchen and Yelu Han, Du Xiaofu was not a merciful person. With the strength of this old monster, once he escaped and held a grudge against Du Xiaofu would not be able to live in peace in the future. Therefore, he had to make a move when he had to. As a cold light flashed in Ding Hao's eyes, the soul of the red horse monkey in the void had made another move. A palm print, accompanied by a golden light, flooded the void and directly slapped the old monster green fox hard. "Boy, it's a small world. I'll settle this with you later," the old monster green fox shouted sternly. In an instant, he transformed into his human form and directly flew away. The old monster green fox had set up the restriction formation in this space. At this moment, he knew that he could not do anything to the Demon King, so he chose to escape immediately. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would not even have the strength to escape. Puff! In an instant, the old monster green fox disappeared as if he had teleported. As a result, Du Xiaofu's attack of the soul of the red horse monkey failed, and the old monster green fox fled. It was all too easy for a sacred beast to escape from an undying and indestructible cultivator, especially when they were trapped in a sealed space. Even if Du Xiaofu had crossed the chasm, it would be absolutely difficult for him to stop the old monster of the green fox tribe, who was determined to escape. However, Du Xiaofu was unusually calm. Even the primordial spirit of the red horse monkey turned into a dazzling electric arc and rushed into the mud pill palace in his mind. He had no intention of chasing after the old monster green fox. Coo! Du Gufengchen and Yelu Han's hearts couldn't help but tremble as they looked at the fleeing old monster green fox and the young man in the sky who seemed to be in a sorry state. They swallowed their saliva and were unable to recover from their shock for a long time. The Demon King is an expert in the holy beast realm. He didn't use any external force. With his own strength, he actually forced the expert in the holy beast realm to flee miserably. How terrifying this is! I'm afraid that no one will believe it even if it gets out. He hasn't become a sage, but he can oppress a sage. It's so terrifying. Puff! At this moment, the surrounding void trembled invisibly. Mysterious talismans flashed and disappeared in the void. The restriction formation in this space, which had been sealed by the old monster green fox, was disappearing. However, as the restriction formation disappeared, the old monster green fox, who had just escaped, reappeared in the void under the surprised gazes of Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen. At this moment, the old monster green fox looked up at the sky in a daze. His eyes were filled with fear as if he had seen a ghost, and his face was as pale as ash. The void where the old monster green fox was looking at was faintly distorted. There were red and blue flaming electric arcs shuttling back and forth in the void. For some reason, the old monster green fox stopped, and his whole body trembled inexplicably. "Little fox, why don't you run away? Why don't you run away?" Such an ancient voice came faintly from the depths of the sky. It was calm and without ripples. Chapter 2174. Boom! As soon as the voice fell, the void above suddenly changed. All of a sudden, the mysterious crimson blue flame and electric arc descended, resonating with heaven and earth. It was desolate and destructive. In an instant, the mysterious crimson blue flame and electric arc turned into a giant handprint in the void. It stirred up a mighty and turbulent power and directly engulfed the old monster green fox's head like raging waves. Sizzle! The crimson blue flame contained the power to destroy all living things. It seemed to be accompanied by a faint sound of thunder. The old monster of the green fox's beast soul trembled under this terrible power. Even if he was in his prime, he would definitely not be a match for it, not to mention that he was seriously injured by Du Xiaofu at this moment. Bang! Wherever the handprint passed, the crimson blue flame and electric arc spread all over the sky. The surrounding void shattered inch by inch until it reached the old monster of the green fox. Puff! The old monster of the green fox was powerless to fight back. As he spat out a mouthful of blood, his body directly fell to the ground like a bird with broken wings. At this moment, the old monster of the green fox recognized the familiar aura in the crimson blue flame and electric arc. It was the demon spirit master, who he met in the Tomb of Eternity. The demon spirit master was a person who could fight against the great demon emperor. Although the old monster of the green fox tribe had reached the holy beast realm, he was no match for the demon spirit master. The old monster of the green fox tribe originally thought that the demon spirit master was not with Du Xiaofu, the demon king. Indeed, Fire Thunder, the demon spirit expert, was not with Du Xiaofu. Instead, he was waiting for him outside Du Xiaofu's seal inhibition. He even secretly set up a seal inhibition outside Du Xiaofu's seal inhibition, making it impossible for the old monster green fox to escape at this moment. As the old monster of the green fox tribe fell to the ground like a bird with broken wings, Dugafenshin and Yelu Han were dumbfounded and could not come to their senses for a while. As the crimson blue flame and electric arc in the void fluctuated, the void distorted, and a figure slowly walked out. That figure had long red hair and was dressed in a wide blue robe. He had a face that looked like he was over 50 years old. His round face didn't show any signs of age, but his abdomen was bulging so much that the wide robe was almost torn apart. It's that expert, Hua Leizi. When they saw that figure, Yelu Han and Dugafenshin's eyes trembled. They immediately understood why Du Xiaofu, with his temper, didn't chase after that old man even though he clearly had the upper hand earlier. It turned out that such an ancient powerhouse had already been set up outside. From the very beginning, that holy beast powerhouse was already a tragedy. He couldn't even escape. Little fox, keep running. Why aren't you running anymore? Hovering in the void, Master of Fire Thunder looked calmly at the old monster green fox, who had just gotten to his feet, and said, "Green light sky shattering fox. You're not bad among the fox clan. I didn't know that Senior would come. Please forgive me." The old monster of the green fox tribe bowed respectfully, but his heart was trembling. If he had known that the Fire Thunder Master was here, he would not have dared to make a move. At this moment, the old monster of the green fox tribe didn't even dare to think about running away. This place had been sealed by the former. With his strength, there was no way he could escape. "I think you're quite bold. You even dared to attack my descendant. It's not easy to cultivate, but you're courting death," said the Fire Thunder Master. His voice was faint, but there was a hint of coldness in it. When the old monster of the green fox tribe heard his voice, it was deafening like thunder. Descendant. Hearing that, the old monster of the green fox tribe trembled all over. The Fire Thunder Master was a demon spirit. Du Xiaofu was at most related to the golden-winged great rocks. How could he be the descendant of the Fire Thunder Master? "You attacked my brother, attacked me from behind, and stole my treasure. How do you think you should pay for this?" Du Xiaofu stepped out slowly. The Daluo sword formation in his hand rumbled and twisted the void. It was filled with lightning, as if it would fly out of his hand at any time. "Little brother, I didn't know that these two people were your brothers. Back on the Heavenly Devil battlefield, this treasure had already fallen into your hands. Everything was a misunderstanding. Let's forget about it today. I owe you a favor. What do you think?" The old monster of the green fox tribe looked at Du Xiaofu with a particularly sincere expression on his wretched face. "Two choices. Do you want to live or die?" Du Xiaofu looked at the old monster of the green fox tribe with a cold light flashing in his eyes. How could he believe what the old monster said? If he let the old monster go today, he would be in trouble in the future. Hearing that, the old monster of the green fox tribe trembled. He could feel a hidden killing intent from the young man's eyes. He was afraid that this guy had no intention of letting him go from the beginning. Otherwise, why would he set up an ancient powerful figure outside at the beginning? Obviously, he had been prepared from the beginning. What's the difference between life and death? At this point, the old monster of the Green Fox tribe knew that there was no need for him to pretend anymore. His expression returned to normal, and he looked at Du Xiaofu with a wretched face. He felt that his life today was in Du Xiaofu's hands. The young man was also the master of the flaming thunderball. If you live, submit to me. As a holy beast, I won't treat you unfairly. I will honor you as the guardian sage of the heavenly beast hall in the barren country. Du Xiaofu did not hide the coldness in his eyes. He looked straight at the old monster of the Green Fox tribe and said, "If you die, I will refine you into a puppet. I will refine you alive, refine your body, and erase your memory. Not only can I preserve your strength, but I can also improve your strength slightly." As soon as Du Xiaofu finished speaking, the old monster of the Green Fox tribe's face began to twitch. For some reason, he felt his hair stand on end. Being refined alive, refining the body, and erasing the memory of the beast's soul was definitely worse than death. Looking at the unchanged expression on the old monster of the Green Fox tribe's wretched face, Du Xiaofu's eyes were still cold. He said slowly, "Of course, you can also choose the third option. Try to detonate yourself to avoid the pain of being refined. However, I don't know if you have a chance to detonate yourself in front of Huolei Laozu. I can refine you. As a holy beast at the early stage, I can gain some benefits." The flaming thunderball glanced at the old monster of the Green Fox tribe and said indifferently. He did not take the old monster of the Green Fox tribe seriously at all. The old monster of the Green Fox tribe was stunned. His eyes were glazed over. The words of Du Xiaofu and the flaming thunderball had undoubtedly destroyed his last fantasy. Not to mention that he was reluctant to detonate himself, he might not have a chance to do so in front of the flaming thunderball. He had been very careful along the way of cultivation. It had not been easy for him to reach his current level. How could he be willing to die? After reaching the Holy Beast realm, he could have lived a carefree life in this world. However, he had provoked the Demon King. Today, the two guys seemed to have something to do with the Demon King, so he was now in front of the Demon King. The old monster of the Green Fox tribe knew that he had completely lost this time. If he did not submit, he would suffer a fate worse than death. Chapter 2175. But at this moment, a dignified holy beast had to bow its head and submit, and listen to the orders of others from now on. No one would be able to accept this. You don't have time to consider. Life or death is up to you. Du Xiaofu stared at the old monster of Green Fox. The Daluo sword formation in his hand released pressure. Electric arcs surged, making people's souls tremble. The old Green Fox monster looked depressed and pale. He raised his eyes slightly and looked at Master of Fire Thunder and Du Xiaofu. "I can join the Barren Nation, but the Barren Nation needs to provide me with some cultivation resources. Otherwise, I would rather die than do as you wish. If I really wanted to self-destruct, I might not necessarily fail." The old monster of the Green Fox tribe looked straight at Du Xiaofu and secretly gritted his teeth. He did not want to die. Today, he had been completely defeated. It seemed that he had no other choice. He even believed that once he shook his head, that guy would attack him without hesitation. If you join the Heavenly Beast Hall, you will be able to use all the resources of the desolate country at any time. If the desolate country doesn't have it, we will be able to help you find it. As a guardian sacred envoy, you will be second only to one person. It will not be a disgrace to you. Du Xiaofu said. Hearing that, the old monster of the Green Fox tribe looked at Du Xiaofu in surprise. It seemed that he did not expect that the other party would give him a way out so readily. The old Green Fox demon's eyes twitched with complicated emotions. After a few seconds, the corners of his mouth twitched. He secretly gritted his teeth, got down on one knee, saluted, and said, "I'm willing to join the Celestial Beast Hall of the Barren Country. Greetings, Rock Emperor." Yelu Han and Dugafenshin were slightly astounded when they saw this scene. Yelu Han and Dugafenshin looked at each other in dismay. They hadn't expected this outcome. It was obvious that Master of Fire Thunder and the Demon King were echoing each other. In the end, the old monster Green Fox had no choice but to join the desolate nation. No, no, sacred envoy, you are too polite. At the same time, Du Xiaofu immediately came to the old monster green fox. His cold face, like a flower blooming in spring, suddenly, the killing intent in his eyes was replaced by respect. He enthusiastically held the old green fox demon, who was about to get down on one knee, and said, "Senior, on behalf of the barren country, thank you and welcome Senior to join the Heavenly Beast Hall. We will. From now on." The old monster green fox was stunned. He stared blankly at the enthusiastic young face in front of him. Yelu Han and Dugu Fenshin. Fuck, if you were really polite, why would you beat that old fox up so badly? If Fenshin Xiaofu. Tu's Fenshin. Du Xiaofu thought of letting the old monster green fox join the Celestial Beast Hall on the spur of the moment. He asked Fire Thunder to guard outside because he was afraid that the old monster green fox would take the opportunity to escape. The catastrophe was coming, and the barren country's strength was far from enough. That was why Du Xiaofu wanted the old monster green fox to join the Celestial Beast Hall. After all, the old monster green fox was an expert in the Holy Beast realm. Du Xiaofu wanted to test his real strength, so he didn't even use the Blood Soul Seal. However, if the old monster green fox refused to join the barren country, Du Xiaofu would kill him without hesitation, so as to avoid future troubles. Fire Thunder didn't say anything more. He reached out and waved his hand. The invisible restriction in the void dissipated. Thank you. Yelu Han and Dugafenshin came to Du Xiaofu with complicated expressions. If it weren't for the Demon King this time, they could imagine the consequences. We are brothers. You don't have to thank me. Du Xiaofu looked at Yelu Han and Dugafenshin and smiled. Then he waved his sleeves and soared into the sky, flying away. Swoosh, swoosh. Behind Du Xiaofu, Master of Fire Thunder and the old monster green fox also soared into the sky and left. As Du Xiaofu's voice faded away, he continued, I really hope that you two brothers can join my desolate country. Back then, I had no choice but to hide it from you. However, as brothers, if you don't understand, then it's useless even if I say 1,000 words. A great calamity is coming. I hope you two brothers take care of yourselves. Yelu Han and Dugafenshin looked at each other as they looked at Du Xiaofu's back. Their eyes flickered. When the Demon King disguised himself as Fu Xiaodu, they were forced to form an alliance. However, after many dangerous situations and battles, the three of them finally called each other brothers. Later, when Du Xiaofu was in danger, even when the disciples of the barren country were in danger, Yelu Han and Dugafenshin subconsciously helped him secretly. However, they had been tricked by Du Xiaofu and couldn't find a way to get out of this situation. The two of them looked at the gradually disappearing figure and murmured, as brothers in our hearts, swoosh swoosh, light flashed in their eyes. They seemed to have made a decision. Light shot out from the soles of their feet and their figures soared into the sky, flying towards the gradually disappearing figure. There are still a few more flowers to be added. Brothers and sisters, please send some flowers to me. Thank you. Chapter 2176. Desolate Country, Stone City. In the huge square of the palace, many experts stood together. They had concealed their auras, but their auras still made the air tremble. Array Child Jin Qingchun Yi Lao Yi Piaoling, Changguyu, Dongfang Qingmu, Nether Demon, Qiu Li, Du Yunlong, and Du Xiaoman were all there. The Divine Ape King, Fire Dragon King, Silver Blood Leopard King, and other beast experts who had followed Little Xingxing were also there. They had improved tremendously over the years. 7-star halls Yu Xianzi, Dongli Diao, and Lin Weiqi were also there. They had heard that the desolate country was going to head to legalism. They seemed to have guessed something and were determined to go together. There were also the Du family disciples, led by Du Hao, Du Shui, and the rest. They had made a name for themselves over the years, and their growth was astonishing. General Gu Xinyan, Wu Kei, Tang Wu, Guo Xiaofeng, and the rest of the Tianwu Academy elites were also there. They had come out of seclusion in advance to head to the desolate country. The army is ready. Ghost Chariot, Silver Winged Demonic Eagle, and the rest have sent back news. The Heavenly Beast Hall's army has also gathered on Middle State's Long River. We can set off at any time. Du Yunlong said to Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing as he stepped forward. Du Xiaoyao's gaze swept across the crowd. With the desolate country's current strength, excluding the Saint Realm cultivators, they were not inferior to any other major forces. Especially among the younger generation, the 9 great families, dragons, and phoenixes would not be able to compare to the desolate country. It's time. Let's go. Du Xiaoyao looked at General and Gu Xinyan and nodded. As Du Xiaoyao finished speaking, Gu Xinyan walked out. Her red robe fluttered, and a ray of light shot out from her palm, shooting into the clouds. Boom! Suddenly, above the stone city, the wind and clouds surged, and the ground shook. A colossal figure, like a dark cloud, covered the sky. What's going on? In an instant, the entire stone city shook. Everyone rushed out and walked onto the street. They stared at the gigantic creature in the sky in a daze. It made them shudder in fear. This was an ancient warship that was incomparably large, as if it was going to fill half of the vast stone city. Its entire body was deep, and just its height alone was 1,000 zhang. There were many cracks on the ship's wall, but the invisible power was enough to make a Saint Stage cultivator tremble. The warship was so huge that it made the people standing in front of it seem insignificant. They couldn't see the end of it at all. Even the true form of a beast that was over 10,000 feet long couldn't compare to this colossus. The appearance of such a huge warship above the Imperial Palace shocked the desolate country's experts who were in the Imperial Palace. Get on the warship. Little Xingxing opened his mouth. His tender voice was filled with a great might. Whoosh whoosh, as Little Xingxing's voice fell, the sound of wind breaking could be heard in the square. Many powerhouses rose into the air in shock. Immediately, a powerful aura spread out, causing the entire stone city to tremble. Whoosh whoosh. At the same time, inside and outside the Imperial Palace, many powerful auras suddenly surged. Many figures rushed toward the huge warship above the Imperial Palace. They were densely packed, and their auras were powerful. A moment later, the huge battlefield disappeared. The dark clouds above the stone city dispersed, and light returned to the city. Someone saw 2 figures rushing into the sky from within the Imperial Palace. They tore through space and instantly disappeared into the void. Such a huge commotion caused the entire stone city to boil. Everyone knew that the desolate country, which had been quiet for so long, was going to make a big move with such a huge commotion. Not long after, a huge and boundless warship suddenly appeared in the central region's Long River. Huge waves surged and covered the sky. Countless beast silhouettes swept through the air and landed on the colossal warship, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Then, the huge warship disappeared, and everything returned to normal. However, such a shocking commotion couldn't be hidden from everyone. All the forces in the central region received the news soon after. They were all guessing who the desolate country's elite powerhouses were going to attack. The desolate country, which had lost the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was going to make a shocking move this time. The stone city returned to its peaceful state after the warship disappeared. Walala, quietly, without anyone noticing, the lush grass of immortality and dark penetrating grass in the Imperial Palace flickered with light. Energy fluctuations spread out towards the Du family. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous sound broke through the air and reverberated through the stone city. In an instant, lightning descended from the sky above the stone city. Dazzling silver snakes rushed into the sky, causing the people's scalps to explode. Their minds and souls trembled violently, and a destructive aura whistled. Roar! Suddenly, there was a dragon's roar. Within the Imperial Palace, golden talisman runes rushed into the sky. The energy between heaven and earth began to fluctuate violently. The entire Imperial Palace trembled, and the Imperial Palace's dragon aura was affected. Crackle! In a short period of time, lightning filled the entire stone city. Boom! Thunder rumbled, and the entire stone city trembled. Roar! At this moment, outside the stone city, tens of thousands of beasts roared and groveled on the ground. At the same time, waves of extremely shocking lightning energy fluctuations seemed to have transformed into countless spirit snakes that shuttled through the void, causing one's hair to stand on end and feel a chill in one's heart. Rumble! Rumble! The terrifying lightning finally struck down. The aura was murderous and destructive as it enveloped the entire Stone City Imperial Palace. The lightning energy that filled the sky was extremely terrifying. The lightning raged like countless bombs exploding. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky above the Stone City, the wind howled. Dark clouds gathered, and the low rumble of thunder resounded. Crackle. The terrifying lightning in the sky enveloped the entire Imperial Palace, and finally fell towards the depths of the Dew family. There was a terrifying aura that rushed into the sky, straight into the clouds. Middle State, Great Lewin Sect. On the peak of the mountain, a figure appeared in the void, looking in the direction of the desolate country's Stone City from afar. The vast plains stretched as far as the eye could see. In the distance, there was a huge new city that had risen from the ground. It was majestic and magnificent. The city was peaceful, and the streets were bustling. This was the new Sky City. After so many years, Sky City had been razed to the ground, but it had been rebuilt by legalism. There were many disciples from the branches of the School of Legalism living in the city. After the ancient experts from the School of Legalism came out of the eternal tomb, the disciples of the School of Legalism were extremely determined. No one dared to touch them anymore. On the vast plains, a figure appeared quietly. He stopped and looked at the huge outline of the new city in the distance. His bearded face was slightly moved. The person who appeared on the plains was Du Xiaofu. Looking at this strange yet familiar place, even if his heart was as firm as a rock, he could not remain calm. All these years, he had been longing for a family reunion, but he had failed time and time again. When he left the Stone City, his dream was to enter the front one day and bring his mother and sister out. It was not for anything else, but for a family reunion. However, Du Xiaofu had failed to realize this dream that could not be any more ordinary for others. He had even been tortured and humiliated because of it. Phew! His chest rose and fell as he took a deep breath. Du Xiaofu's bearded face, which had been disguised with a divine technique, regained its calmness. With a thought, a stream of light shot out from between his eyebrows, and the ancient barren space appeared in front of him. Whoosh whoosh! With a flash of light, 3 figures flew out from the ancient barren space. 3 invisible auras spread out, quietly causing the void to tremble. The 3 people who walked out of the ancient barren space were the old monster Green Fox, the fire cloud evil god Dugufenshin, and the heavenly demon Yeluhan. The fire cloud evil god Dugufenshin and the heavenly demon Yeluhan followed Du Xiaofu and joined the desolate country, adding 2 more country guardians to the desolate country. The old monster Green Fox, Dugufenshin, and Yeluhan were originally seriously injured, so Du Xiaofu put them in the ancient barren space to recuperate. At this moment, the old monster Green Fox, Dugufenshin, and Yeluhan were far from fully recovered from their injuries. However, their originally pale faces were now a little rosy. Their clothes were neat and tidy, and they were no longer in a sorry state. Of course, when the 3 of them entered the ancient barren space, they were inevitably shocked. At this moment, the 3 of them walked out of the ancient barren space. At their level, they were no longer shocked. However, when they looked at the huge new city in front of them, their eyes were filled with surprise. This seems to be legalism. The old monster Green Fox recognized it immediately, and the look in his eyes changed a lot. The old monster Green Fox knew this place. This was the entrance to legalism. The old monster Green Fox didn't know why the Demon King came to legalism, but he had heard that the Demon King seemed to have a lot of grudges with legalism and the school of vertical and horizontal. Then, the old monster Green Fox looked at Du Xiaofu, who was beside him, in surprise. This guy has the fire thunder seed. Is he coming to legalism to deal with legalism? The old monster Green Fox knew that legalism was not easy to deal with now, and it was guarded by experts from the ancient era. Legalism. When Yeluhan and Dugufenshin heard this, their eyes trembled violently. Others might not know, but they clearly knew that the Demon King and legalism had a great grudge. It was absolutely to the point that they would not stop until one of them was dead. Now that the Demon King came to legalism in person, they were afraid that he was up to no good. Let's go. As soon as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, he slowly stepped toward the new city. The old monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin looked uncertain. Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at each other. They knew that today would not be a peaceful day. It seemed that Du Xiaofu only took a few steps, but he crossed the space and appeared outside the huge new city calmly. The old monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin followed him closely. On the city gate, the words, "City in the Sky," were shining brightly. The huge city gate was like a giant beast opening its bloody mouth, making people's hearts tremble. Looking up at the words, "City in the Sky," Du Xiaofu stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking as calm as ever. Chapter 2177. In the land of legalism, all trespassers will die. Scram, scram. With a thunderous roar, several gigantic demonic beasts appeared from the city walls. They looked ferocious, their eyes ferocious, and their auras powerful. However, when these demonic beasts appeared and their gazes landed on the old monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin, their bodies trembled for no reason. Their auras stagnated for a moment, and they almost fell from the city walls. Although these demonic beasts had reached the Beast Emperor realm, their cultivation was not bad. Even if they were in front of Yelu Han and Dugufenshin, who had restrained their auras, their cultivation was nothing. Moreover, there was a saint beast expert like the old monster Green Fox present. Their invisible auras were enough to make the demonic beasts' souls tremble. "Are you still so high and mighty?" Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly and looked at the demonic beasts. As his voice fell, he waved his long sleeve and swept it forward. A golden light accompanied by an invisible wave instantly rushed out. Bang bang. Wherever the golden light passed, the towering city walls instantly crumbled like tofu. Those ferocious demonic beasts didn't even have time to scream before they were crushed into dust and rubble. Who dares to trespass into the land of legalism? As the city walls collapsed, many figures rushed out from Sky City. Waves of powerful auras swept over, and their roars were like thunder, shaking the void. Swoosh, swoosh, roar. From the depths of Sky City, many figures were still flying over, and the demonic beasts roared. In a short time, many figures appeared at the collapsed city gates. Waves of auras gathered, and it was quite a scene. However, many of the demons that had been roaring viciously earlier began to tremble for some reason as they appeared at the city gates. They trembled all over, almost causing quite a few disciples of legalism to fall from the sky. You dare to kill the demonic beasts of legalism? Do you want to die? High up in the air, a burly man in the lead swept his gaze over the collapsed city walls below. His expression instantly turned cold as he stared at Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han, and the other three. However, as if he had sensed something, a cold light flickered in his eyes as his heart trembled for no reason. You don't have enough weight. Call that old bastard Qin Yunlong out. Du Xiaofu. After saying this, Du Xiaofu didn't say anything. How can ants like you call the divine ancestor's name? You're asking for it. The legalism mans, the legalisms, their divine ancestor, their god. How could the legalism's divine ancestor was? Legalism? Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure swooped down. In an instant, the light was as dazzling as the sun, and the mysterious runes of talismans filled the sky. Roar. In a single moment, the middle-aged man's body was enveloped by the figure of a colossal, primordial beast. It opened its vicious mouth and brandished its claws, as if it wanted to tear Du Xiaofu to pieces. You overestimate yourself. Boom! This voice was like a great bell. A sharp claw appeared in the air, twisting the void. With a pitch-black spatial crack, it instantly slammed into the huge demonic beast. Rip! Rip! The void trembled. The surrounding city walls exploded one after another. Huge rocks soared into the sky and then turned to dust in the terrifying energy. Under the horrified gazes of the legalism disciples, The demonic beast shattered inch by inch. It couldn't withstand a single blow. The martial honorable realm expert of legalism was crushed like an ant by the claw. Not even his bones remained, and his divine soul was destroyed. The void froze. The legalism people on the city walls trembled. Their eyes were glazed over with horror. The one who attacked was the green fox old monster. He had already joined the desolate country. Under such circumstances, he had to take action. Activate the array. Quickly activate the array. After a moment, someone among the legalism people finally recovered from the shock. His voice echoed in the vast Sky City. Rumble. Suddenly, Sky City shook. Light soared into the sky, and mysterious talismans soared into the sky. Energy surged. In an extremely short period of time, a large array enveloped the entire Sky City. Dong dong. The urgent sound of a bell echoed throughout Sky City. Suddenly, Sky City was in a panic. All the legalism disciples looked at the void. They couldn't figure out who dared to offend the legalism at this moment. Could it be that those demons had come? Du Xiaofu didn't move again. He quietly waited outside the array. The green fox old monster, Dugfenshin, and Yelu Han looked at Du Xiaofu. They seemed to want to ask something, but in the end, they didn't ask. Legalism. The vast space was ancient and magnificent. Mountains rose and fell, and clouds rose and fell. With the removal of the seal in this world, the space inside legalism was filled with spiritual qi. It was incomparably sacred. Originally, because Du Xiaofu had massacred the legalism, countless legalism experts had died. All of legalism was silent and oppressive. But recently, with the demon king Du Xiaofu's death and the emergence of one of the legalism's ancestors from the tomb of eternity, the legalism had regained its vitality. No one was worried that the legalism's fortunes had run out. Dong dong. Suddenly, the urgent sound of a bell echoed throughout legalism, spreading throughout the legalism. Swoosh swoosh. Within the school of legalism, experts rushed into the air from all directions as soon as possible, gathering in the inner city. After the 2 visits of Garuda Mora of the golden-winged great rocks and the desolate nation, legalism's response was indeed much faster. All of its experts gathered in the great hall of the inner city. The sovereign lord of legalism sat at the head of the hall, flanked by legalism elders and experts. Sovereign lord, it's not good. Powerful enemies have invaded. Elder Li is no match for them. Someone from Sky City had long since arrived. His face was pale and his heart was still palpitating. Are they demons? How many are there? A legalism elder immediately asked. The experts and elders of legalism in the great hall all paled. They're not demons. There are only 4 of them. The newcomer was panting, his face pale and his body trembling uncontrollably. For people, hearing this, the experts and elders of legalism in the great hall were puzzled. Who in the world would dare to offend legalism? Moreover, there were only 4 of them. Why are the 4 of them so panicked? What's going on? A legalism elder berated the newcomer. Elder, the 4 of them are 3 young people and 1 old man. They're too strong. Elder Li was killed in 1 move. The newcomer had a sullen expression. The 4 of them were too strong. That formless aura made him feel weak even now. 3 young people and 1 old man. In the great hall, all of the experts of legalism were astonished and fell into deep thought. Do you know where the 4 of them came from? The sovereign lord's face was gloomy. He seemed to have aged even more than 2 years ago. The various blows to legalism over the years and the death of his son, Han Aoshi, had caused this sovereign lord of legalism to grow older. However, his old face was still sharp and clear. He must have been very handsome when he was young. Chapter 2178. Legalism, I don't know. The person shook his head. He was just a branch disciple of legalism. Although his cultivation was not bad and he had some status in legalism, he had not gone far from it. Just the 4 of you dare to barge into my school of legalism? How audacious! An expert from the school of legalism was furious. For people dared to treat the school of legalism as nothing. If they did not make them pay the price, probably no one would take the school of legalism seriously in the future. Lord, elders, those 4 people called the divine ancestor by name. They said. The person wanted to say something but stopped. He looked at the Lord and the elders in the hall, not daring to say anything. Speak. The Lord asked in a deep voice. There was a great majesty in his voice. They called the divine ancestor an old man. They want the divine ancestor to go out and see them, the person said bravely. Bang! A low muffled sound was heard. A chair in the hall was smashed into powder. An elder was furious. His eyes were cold. He shouted, "How dare you!" The divine ancestor is still in seclusion. For people dare to break into legalism, they should be killed. A legalism expert stood up. For people dared to make a scene in front of legalism. They did not take legalism seriously. They could not be let go. Elder Ming, please. The Lord of Legalism said. His eyes flashed. The divine ancestor was in seclusion and should not be disturbed. Moreover, the divine ancestor of legalism was not someone who anyone could meet. Elder Ming was enough to deal with anyone below the Saint Plane. Legalism. Peaks connected and surrounded by peaks. It was like a city. Green and steep, clouds and mist covered the place. An ancient aura filled the place. In a secret room, a woman sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. She looked otherworldly. Sizzle. Suddenly, the woman opened her eyes. Purple lightning flashed in the depths of her eyes. A murderous aura flashed. The lightning in her eyes slowly receded and became clear again. Within Sky City, many children of legalism floated in the air. Densely packed figures stood on the city wall and looked at the 4 figures outside the formation, waiting anxiously for the experts of legalism to arrive. What are we waiting for? Yelu Han couldn't help but ask Du Xiaofu. Although the legalism gate had an extraordinary array, it was unlikely that anyone under the Saint Realm would be able to break through it easily. However, Yelu Han knew that no matter how powerful the formation was, it would not be able to stop Du Xiaofu, let alone the presence of the old monster green fox. Yelu Han didn't have a good impression of legalism. In the past, he had been hunted down by legalism. Now that he was here, he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to collect his debt. Du Xiaofu glanced at Sky City and suddenly smiled. The main character is here, and so is the person we've been waiting for. What? Oh. As soon as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the roar of beasts came from within Sky City's formation. It was like thunder, shaking the void. In the next moment, light surged from within the formation. Many fierce birds and beasts flew out and stood upright, exuding a terrifying aura. Their bodies were like dark clouds, and their aura made one's heart tremble. Light surged behind these fierce birds and beasts, like stars hanging low in the sky. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there were figures standing behind these demonic beasts. Their bodies were surrounded by light, shining like stars. In particular, the figures in the middle were surrounded by light that was as dazzling as the sun. In an instant, the entire Sky City was filled with light, as if gods had descended to earth. Greetings, Lord. Greetings, elders. The disciples of Sky City bowed, their voices shaking the sky. The High Lord had come in person, accompanied by many elders and powerhouses. Sky City's disciples, who had been terrified just a moment ago, felt a boost of confidence. At this moment, with so many experts present, who would dare to offend the dignified legalism? Du Xiaofu looked at the densely packed figures above Sky City. They deliberately released their auras, filling the sky and shaking the void. Many of them were familiar faces. When he saw the old man at the very front, the current sovereign of the school of legalism, his own grandfather, Du Xiaofu's calm gaze rippled without leaving a trace. Beside the Lord of Legalism, an old woman in her 70s stood quietly. She wore a plain dress and looked old. Her face was full of wrinkles, as if the vicissitudes of time were written on it. Du Xiaofu was familiar with this person. He was Elder Ming of legalism. The seed of the nether insight grass in his body was given to him by this person. It was also this person who first introduced him to legalism. The people of legalism floated in the void, like gods descending from the heavens. Their eyes were bright, as if they were looking down on Du Xiaofu and the others. However, when these people's gazes fell on Du Gufengchen and Yelu Han, some of them instantly changed their expressions. Almost all the experts of legalism who had entered the heavenly devil battlefield had been exterminated by Du Xiaofu and the desolate country. However, there were a few who had managed to escape. When the heavenly devil battlefield reappeared, they immediately recognized Du Gufengchen and Yelu Han. Yelu Han. It's fire cloud evil god Du Gufengchen. Someone immediately cried out in alarm. The heavenly fiend Yelu Han and the fire cloud evil god Du Gufengchen were absolutely infamous. On the other hand, no one recognized the old monster of Green Fox. Swish, swish. Along with the exclamations, many eyes followed the exclamations and fell on Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen. I was wondering who it was. Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen, the two of you barged into our legalism and killed our legalism's disciples. Do you think our legalism has no one? The current legalist High Lord spoke. He naturally knew who these two were. Based on his age, he wasn't even as old as Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen. The few of you aren't qualified. Tell that old bastard Qin Yanlong to come out. Yelu Han's body rippled with a dark red baleful aura. His aura fluctuated with multicolored light, causing people to shiver for no reason. At this moment, Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen were secretly depressed. These people of legalism didn't recognize the demon king Du Xiaofu and the old monster of Green Fox. Instead, they were staring at them. If they knew that the old monster of Green Fox and the demon king Du Xiaofu were here, it was another matter whether these people of legalism would dare to come out or not. How dare you call our divine ancestor's name and insult our divine ancestor? How dare you? You should be killed. Among the terrifying figures that were as dazzling as the sun, a loud shout resounded through the sky like thunder. It reverberated for a long time without stopping. Insulting the divine ancestor of legalism in front of them, it was obvious that they didn't put legalism in their eyes. Boom! Along with this loud shout, the beasts outside the city roared. The auras of the experts of legalism surged, containing endless ancient majesty, shaking the sky. Bullshit legalism. So what if you insulted that old bastard Qin Yanlong? Amidst the roars of the demonic beasts, there was a slightly immature voice that clearly resounded throughout the entire Sky City. The voice was clearly calm, but it was deafening to the disciples of legalism, causing their souls to tremble. The mounts of the beasts of legalism were trembling, for no reason, and their fierce eyes revealed an inexplicable fear. Chapter 2179. Swoosh swoosh. As the last word of the immature voice fell, two spatial cracks appeared in the void. The spatial ripples rippled like a tide, and two figures stepped out of the spatial cracks. One of them was a golden-robed young man. His skin was translucent and seemed to emit a faint golden luster. He had shoulder-length blonde hair and was thin but tall. His facial features were as handsome as if they had been carved by a knife. His pair of dazzling golden eyes seemed to be able to captivate souls. A little girl about 10 years old with a young face and a faint golden luster in the depths of her bewitching eyes slowly swept her gaze over the people of legalism. Wherever her gaze landed, the monster beasts and experts of legalism felt their souls tremble for no reason. Redbone horse monkey Du Xiaoyao. Purple star demonic dragon emperor. Oh no, those two malefactors are here. In an instant, the faces of the experts and elders of legalism, who had been overbearing and arrogant just a moment ago, were now filled with shock and fear. The news that the Purple Star Demonic Dragon Emperor had stepped into the Holy Beast realm had long been spread. Although legalism had not been born yet, they were very well informed. The relationship between the Purple Star Demonic Dragon Emperor and the desolate nation was probably known to everyone in the world. Now that this Holy Beast realm expert and Redbone horse monkey Du Xiaoyao had come, they were probably not here to pay a visit. The Lord of Legalism was not worried about Yelu Han and Du Gufengchen. Although these two people were not ordinary, they were far from enough to come to legalism to make a fuss. When he saw little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao, the Lord of Legalism's expression immediately turned gloomy and ugly. The old monster of Green Fox's gaze fell on Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing. In the Tomb of Eternity, he had also seen how terrifying the red-bone horse monkey and the dragon were. At this moment, the old monster of the Green Fox tribe sensed the invisible aura of Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing. As an expert in the holy beast realm, how could he not sense that the two of them had probably stepped into the sage realm? The old monster Green Fox's expression changed. With the red-bone horseback monkey, the strange dragon, and the fire thunder in the dark, Du Xiaofu, the Demon King, was more powerful than him even though he had not reached the Saint Realm. He was afraid that the legalism would be defeated today. Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing arrived. They glanced at the legalism people in front of Sky City and then fixed their eyes on Du Xiaofu, Old Monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin. Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were a little surprised by Yelu Han and Dugufenshin, but they were more surprised by the Old Monster Green Fox. In the Tomb of Eternity, the Old Monster Green Fox had fought. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao had seen it with their own eyes. He was an expert in the Holy Beast realm. They didn't know why this expert in the Holy Beast realm was here. Du Xiaoyao, what do you want? At the same time, the voice of the Lord of the Legalism came again. However, his posture was much lower, and there was a trace of solemnity in his eyes. Ask Qin Yanlong and the other old man to get out here. Du Xiaoyao glanced at the Lord of the Legalism in front of her with her golden spiritual eyes and said flatly, "You are far from enough." Hearing this, the experts of the legalism trembled secretly. They were indeed not friendly. Do you think you can act so impudently in front of my legalism with just the few of you? The Lord of the Legalism said in a deep voice. Behind him was the entire legalism. Although he was secretly worried, his aura didn't change. He also subconsciously thought that Yelu Han and Dugufenshin were in cahoots with Du Xiaoyao and Dugufenshin. Do you think there are too few of us? Du Xiaoyao smiled coldly, and a streak of light suddenly shot out from her hand. Boom! When this streak of light shot into the sky, the entire sky above Sky City trembled. Accompanied by surging winds and surging clouds, a huge battleship floated in the air. An ancient aura filled the air, and the huge battleship towered over Sky City. It was much taller and more majestic than the walls of Sky City. The body of the battleship was mottled, and the aura it gave off was ancient. All of the disciples of the legalism in Sky City raised their heads and trembled, deeply shocked. Wash legalism in blood. On the deck of the huge battleship, a black mass of figures stood upright. Their roars were like thunder, and their invisible auras were awe-inspiring. The ones at the front were the child of the sacred array, Shen Qingchun Yi Lao, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Heavenly Wolf Gu Tianxiao, Dongfang Qingmu Yi Piaoling, Du Yunlong, General, Gui Hua, and the other elites of the desolate country's world society. The heavenly beast hall's army roared, their voices shaking the world. Qiu Li Gui Che, Silver-Winged Demonic Condor, Mysterious Serpent King, and the others released their auras intentionally or unintentionally, causing the demonic beast mounts of the legalism to almost fall from the sky. Outside Sky City, the wind and clouds surged. The huge battleship hovered in the sky like a dark cloud covering the sky. The intimidating aura on the battleship, accompanied by a ferocious bloodthirsty aura, made one's heart tremble. The huge battleship and its mighty aura descended. Looking at the towering figures on the huge battleship, Old Monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, and Dugufenshin trembled inwardly. When they saw the familiar figures on the battleship, Yelu Han and Dugufenshin looked at each other. At this moment, they were certain that the Demon King in front of them had already prepared for this. He had appeared in front of the legalism with lightning speed. With such a huge lineup, the desolate country's elites had all come out. This was a huge blow to the legalism. On Elder Ming's aged face, his eyes had originally landed on Du Xiaofu intentionally or unintentionally, as if he wanted to spy on something. When little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao appeared, he finally shifted his gaze. When the ancient battlefield appeared, a trace of seriousness quietly flashed across his face. It's the desolate country's elites. On Sky City, The legalism experts were inwardly trembling. Under the Saint Realm, the legalism did not have any foundation that could compare to the desolate countries. Just the heavenly wolf Gu Tianxiao, the snow spirit war monarch Xue Qingrong, the undead spirit demon Dongfang Qingmu, the nether demon Yi Piaoling, and Du Yunlong of the younger generation were enough to crush the legalism. Moreover, Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing were also present. All the disciples of the legalism branch family in Sky City had originally thought that with the High Lord and the legalism experts and elders present, they had enough confidence. However, when they heard the words, desolate country, and saw the densely packed figures and imposing auras on the battleship, they once again felt uneasy. Sky City had been razed to the ground because of the desolate country's Du Xiaofu. Quickly informed the divine ancestor to come out of seclusion. The High Lord of the legalism transmitted his voice to a legalism elder behind him. Looking at the huge battleship in front of them, he knew that the desolate country had come with ill intentions. For the desolate country to suddenly attack like this, it must have been premeditated. Don't think that just because you've broken through to the Saint Realm that you can act arrogantly in front of our legalism. Even if that bastard Du Xiaofu was still alive, he wouldn't dare to act so presumptuously in front of our legalism, let alone if that bastard Du Xiaofu was dead. A legalism elder plucked up his courage and spoke. He was confident. There were ancient experts of the legalism that had walked out of the eternal tomb. Even if that mutated dragon had stepped into the Saint Realm, it had only just stepped into the Saint Realm and could not be compared to the legalism. Even if the desolate country sent out all their elites, they still could not be compared to the two saints of the legalism. You're courting death. Little Xingxing's eyes darkened. How could he tolerate someone insulting his father? A cold light flashed and his little palm was about to slap forward. Pissed. Suddenly, at this moment, a figure quietly appeared in front of Little Xingxing. With a wave of his long sleeve, he stopped Little Xingxing. Chapter 2180. There's still a use for a few of you alive. A faint voice rang out as Du Xiaofu appeared in front of Little Xingxing. Little Xingxing retracted his aura and coldly glared at the legalism expert who had just spoken, but did not attack again. Swish, swish. In an instant, numerous gazes landed on Du Xiaofu. Looking at the bearded man, both the legalism and the desolate country's people were secretly puzzled. Who exactly was this strange man that could stop Little Xingxing's attack? On the warship, the sacred array child Jin Qingchun, Elder Yi and the others were also puzzled as they sized up Du Xiaofu. Under everyone's gazes, Du Xiaofu soared through the air and headed straight for Sky City. Du Xiaofu did not stop Little Xingxing because he was afraid that the legalism people would die. Instead, he knew that with Little Xingxing's current strength, the legalism people would not be able to resist once he attacked, and there would be a few left alive. May I know your name, sir? Elder Ming stepped forward and blocked the legalism sovereign's side. He looked at Du Xiaofu curiously, his gaze solemn. You can't stop me. Du Xiaofu did not say anything else and did not respond to Elder Ming. Du Xiaofu knew Elder Ming's goal, which was to protect the legalism sovereign. His footsteps did not stop as he walked directly in front of the legalism people. Then let me see who you are. As Elder Ming's voice fell, a bright light shot out from his palm. Mysterious runes intertwined to form a stalk of grass. The spiritual leaves on the stalk were long and slender, as if they were real. The mysterious runes flickered. As the stalk of grass shot out, a pressure descended from the sky, causing people's eyes to tremble and their souls to feel refreshed. This stalk of grass seemed to be able to purify the spiritual platform and suppress all evil. This was the shadow of the dark seeker grass. The mysterious pattern of the talisman turned into a beam of light and directly swept towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes slightly, flicked his sleeve, and stretched out his hand. A violet flaming fingerprint shot out, pierced through the void, and directly flashed through the nether insight grass. In an instant, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the illusory figure of the dark nether grass was burned to ashes by the raging purple flames. At the same time, Du Xiaofu appeared in front of Elder Ming. Elder Ming's expression changed drastically at this moment. His body instantly became resplendent, and light spread out from his doddering body. It swelled up, and in an instant, he turned into the enormous body of the nether insight grass. Boom! This stalk of dark insight grass was sparkling and translucent, like a star floating above Sky City. It erupted with the most brilliant light, and the pressure it exuded caused the ground outside Sky City to rapidly crack open. Half-Saint. On the warship, the expressions of the desolate country's experts changed. A sage-level dark penetrating grass demon spirit was extremely powerful. It would be difficult for anyone below the sage realm to contend against it. The dark insight grass soared into the sky, erupting with resplendent light that enveloped Du Xiaofu. It emitted the sound of wind and thunder, and it could cause one's spirit to fluctuate. A mist-like light spread out, and those with lower cultivation couldn't see it clearly. "Sir, show your true body. Why do you keep hiding?" Elder Ming's voice came from the dark insight grass. The leaves of the dark insight grass pierced through the void like countless sharp swords, causing the void to be filled with cracks as they slashed towards Du Xiaofu. Elder Ming had a feeling that the bearded man had hidden his true body. He wanted to force him to show his true body so that he could see who it was. "As you wish." Du Xiaofu looked at the dark insight grass in front of him, and his expression didn't change. He just waved his hand, and suddenly fanned forward. Suddenly, golden light erupted, and a golden talisman rune surged out like lightning. It turned into a brilliant golden wave, and a terrifying aura overflowed. Golden light gushed out like a sun. Screech! There was a faint rock cry that pierced through the clouds and cracked the rocks. The golden talisman runes surged forward layer by layer, and it turned into a golden wing in the void. Everywhere it touched, the leaves of the dark insight grass were crushed. In the end, the wing fiercely flapped on the dark insight grass. Bang! A low muffled sound accompanied by a peerlessly tyrannical and ferocious aura swept over. The resplendent light on the dark insight grass instantly dimmed. The enormous dark insight grass was pressed down and heavily fell from the sky. The supreme beast ability of the golden-winged rock clan. On the warship, Zhen Qingchun, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Elder Yi, Mo Tianxiao, Guiche Yi Piaoling, General, Gu Xinyan Yuxianzi, and the others all trembled fiercely at this moment. As the Elder Ming's dark insight grass was slapped to the ground, the curly-bearded man's body squirmed and his face changed under everyone's gaze. Then, under everyone's incomparably shocked gazes, the curly-bearded man returned to his lean and tall figure, and his resolute and determined face. His black hair was draped over his shoulders, swaying slightly, and his eyes were clear. When such a figure appeared, the whole place suddenly fell into a strange silence. Starting from the venerate of the current era, the faces of the legalists gradually turned from shock to horror. "No, how is this possible? Isn't he dead? His divine soul has been destroyed. What's going on?" Du Xiaofu, he's still alive. The elders and powerhouses of legalism were all dumbfounded, and their bodies trembled in shock. "It's the Rock Emperor. The Rock Emperor is not dead." "Brother, it's brother, he's still alive. Brother Xiaofu is not dead. Brother Xiaofu is still alive. I knew it. I knew the Rock Emperor would not die. The Rock Emperor is not dead. The Rock Emperor is really not dead." When that familiar figure appeared on the warship, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Du Hao, Du Shui, Phantom Tiger King, Mysterious Dragon King, Yi Piaoling, Qian Guyu, Stone, and the others were all excited. "Greetings, Rock Emperor. Greetings, young master." The army on the warship saluted, and their aura soared into the sky. The sound waves were deafening. When that figure appeared, the desolate nation's army was in an uproar, and their eyes trembled. Their Rock Emperor, the soul of the desolate nation, was still alive. "I knew it. This guy will be fine, he won't die." Senior Medicine smiled, but deep in his eyes, there were some tears. "This little bastard, he even hid it from me." Zhen Qingchun curled his lips, looking very unhappy, but the excitement in his eyes could not be concealed. Among the crowd, Little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, Old Monster Green Fox, Yelu Han, And Dugafenshin were not surprised at all, they already knew. Senior Ming's original body, the dark insight grass, flew out from the ground and returned to his human form. His face was pale, and there was a trace of crystal blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the familiar figure in the sky with a complicated expression. From now on, we don't owe each other anything. Du Xiaofu looked at Senior Ming and said, "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."